watching Fox 13's Good Day Tampa Bay.
Waking up with an eye on Adalia, it's become a hurricane while most of us are sleeping. It's expected to strengthen significantly as it moves closer to the west coast of Florida. And welcome to the 7 o'clock hour of Good Day Tampa Bay. And Adalia is our top story.
And Dave Osterberg has been tracking every moment of it. What's the latest, Dave?
Well, the latest is it's now a hurricane. In fact, from last night to this morning, the only difference was it gained 5 miles per hour for winds, which classifies it now as a hurricane rather than a tropical storm. It looks structurally a little bit better. We're still seeing how the clouds and everything just kind of shunt on the west side there, and the eastern side is really where all the action is. And of course, we are going to be on the eastern side as well. If you look at Sky Tower radar, one of the feeder bands kind of rolling through, you can see all of that. That is kind of running parallel to the coast, but it's not that far away, so we still have a little bit of time before we got to deal with some of this rain and wind, and for a lot of us, it may not happen until the sun's beginning to go down this evening, so you get all day to prepare. There is the center of the storm. You can see it with the Key West radar, and now that we have radar on the center of this storm, no matter how strong it gets, no matter where it goes, we will be able to watch it. So as long as it's moving along the forecasted path, okay, that's okay. But if it deviates, we will know immediately. So understand that. We are still expecting a very high storm surge into Tampa Bay as that water funnels in at the times of high tide, which will happen very late tonight, very early tomorrow morning, and then again tomorrow afternoon. We will have tropical storm force winds, sustained hurricane force winds. May stay offshore with the brunt of this storm. That's why I'm trying to make people realize that the focus for this particular storm for us is really a lot more water than it is going to be wind. Now, unless the forecast path changed, okay, then everything changes. But based on the forecast path, the wind really start overnight tonight. Early tomorrow morning, 1, 2, 3, 4 o'clock, and then we'll keep those feeder bands rolling through 7 or 8 o'clock, and that's when our storm surge is going to be a problem as well. As this storm is making landfall northwest of Cedar Key, we are going to be having our problems with storm surge. So that's how far down the coast this will present as a problem. 4 to 7 foot storm surge, 8 to 12, though, closer to where the center comes ashore. We are technically under a hurricane warning and a flood watch. Nothing's going on right now, Elise, but things will start probably this evening or so we still have time.
All right, Dave, so we will be ready for that, of course. 7:02 is our time. If you are heading out the door, things are fairly quiet on the roadways, a couple of incidents. We'll get to those in just a second, but here's a live look outside of the Sunshine Skyway Bridge. That beautiful sunrise right now, which Dave was saying we won't see tomorrow, of course, but toll routes are suspended on the Sunshine Skyway Bridge, and your other toll routes, the Vets, Selman Expressway, and your Polk Parkway, as well as the I-4 connector, that's all suspended until Tuesday at noon. To the rest of the roadways, 75 just north of Sun City Center, moving along here in both directions. No major problems there. But to those incidents I mentioned, there was an accident on 301. Good news, it has cleared. And all the way down to an accident on US 41 at 105th Street, taking out a lane there. To the rest of the roads and your bridges are all checking in at normal speeds.
All right, Elise, thank you. As Adalia gains strength, a lot of people are being told to leave their homes. In Hillsborough and Pinellas County, there are evacuation orders in place now for Zone A and for anyone living in mobile homes or low-lying areas prone to flooding.
In Hernando, it's zones A, B, and C, along with those living in low-lying areas and manufactured homes. Pasco, zones A and low-lying areas. Manatee, mandatory evacuations for Zone A and voluntary for Zone B. There are also mandatory evacuations for Zone A in Citrus County.
And Fox 13's Regina Gonzalez is live from Dunellen right now. That's right along the Citrus-Marion County line. Good morning, Regina.
Good morning, guys. Yeah, sun rising out here. You got some people on the roads. It's been interesting to hear how people feel about this storm. Yesterday, a lot of people were filling up their tanks. Some were trying to head out of here, and others said, hey, we're going to see how this goes, and we are going to stay. Now, right now, I'm in Dunellen at the Blue Gator, very popular spot for locals. It's a bar, restaurant. They do boat tours, and then there's also a motel attached. And this is a very interesting area. And I do want to bring in one of the staff members right now, Stan Larrabee. Stan, thank you so much for joining us. Can you kind of explain to viewers who may not be familiar with where we're at, what this river is, where we're located, and you actually aren't expecting too much flooding?
No, we shouldn't have much flooding at all because we're not tidal here. So we're completely closed off from the ocean. We will see some rise in the water level, but it shouldn't be too bad.
Okay. So what has the last few days looked like for you guys, even personally, with your home?
It's been very busy. You have to run around. You have to make sure everything's fueled, get all your equipment ready. You have, make sure everything's tied down, put away. We could get some serious wind, and this could be dangerous.
Yeah. One of the owners told me that you guys are planning on helping out the community in the middle of all this bad weather. What can you tell us?
Oh, we always do here at Blue Gator. We brought in all our portable cooking equipment. We prepped a whole bunch of meals. We got things ready to help the first responders. And if we lose power, we brought in all our generators. So we're trying to take care of everybody the best we can. Definitely.
And I'm sure they're so appreciative of your help. Tell me, you are actually from up north. I am too, but you've been here a while. Yes. So what is your message to residents right now? A lot of mixed reaction to, just the seriousness of this storm. What can you tell us, and what is your message?
It's always better to be prepared. Yeah. So do everything you can do. I know it's hard sometimes to do everything, but do everything you can do. Stay safe, help your neighbors, watch out for each other, and, just get through it the best you can.
All right. Well, Stan, thank you so much for joining us. We'll be out here for most of the morning on Good Day Tampa Bay. We'll send it back to you guys, but truly just amazing to see how many people are hunkering down to help others out, just like our first responders.
Right, pulling together. All right, Regina, thank you.
Well, there's a lot happening at the Tropicana Field in St. Petersburg ahead of the hurricane.
And it's a staging area right now. Fox 13's Kelly Cowan is there. Good morning, Kelly.
Good morning to you. Yeah, that's staging beginning right now. So you see the school bus just behind me, a couple of them pulling up and lining up. And these school buses are going to be used to transport some of our more vulnerable residents in the county because they have issued mandatory evacuations for Zone A in this county as well as mobile homes. Many of the nursing homes that are in those low-lying areas and in that evacuation zone, some of those residents need a little extra help getting to the shelters. And that's what we have EMTs here already lined up. We got some of our heroes over here. Wave hi, heroes. They can't hear me. But they're right there, and they're ready to assist these residents that'll be arriving here soon to go to the shelters. And I'm actually joined by St. Pete Fire Rescue Lieutenant Garth Swingle, and he's going to be talking me through what exactly is going on here this morning.
This morning, we're using Pinellas County School Board buses, and what we're doing is going to people's houses, picking them up, and bringing them to the shelter they need to be. So we have buses that are also capable for wheelchairs. So whatever the case need be, we're going to get them to that shelter, whatever you need.
And I understand, this is kind of your busy time. So yes. Not only this morning, but over the next, 24, 48 hours or so. Tell me what's going to be going on for you guys.
Yeah, we're going to be going until, obviously, the buses, they can't drive in the wind that hard. So we got to get them back to where they need to be. So we'll cut it off at a certain time where it's safe. So we're going to be going all the way up to then and make sure that we get everybody that is registered, anybody that needs a ride, and we'll get them to those shelters.
Are people still able to register if they do need the help at this point?
Yes, if they go through Pinellas County, they can go to the website. That's the best place to register. That's exactly where we get our list from.
And we often hear from, and we have heard from, the mayor of St. Pete stressing that once winds reach 40 miles per hour or more, they need to start cutting off services like you guys, and right. They need people to be prepared for that. What's your message to the community?
That's a great point, because within the shelters, we do have EMS, and that's there to respond to an emergency in the shelter. Now, you're at home. We're not able to make it to your home. You're in a shelter. We're able to make it to you in the shelter. So to let you know that if there is an emergency, there's a spot where we can't move because it's too dangerous for anybody. So the message is, if you are there, understand that help might not be able to get to you until the conditions get better.
So prepare accordingly.
Yeah.
Garth, thank you so much, and thanks for everything you're doing, and stay safe.
Thank you.
Yes.
Right, thank them for what they're doing. We're so appreciative for them in times like these. Kelly Cowan, live for us this morning. Thank you, Kelly. And in case you have not heard by now, most of the school districts in our area will be closed today and tomorrow. We've highlighted them on the map. There they are right there. They include Hillsborough, Pinellas, Pasco, Manatee, Citrus, Hernando, and Sarasota schools. Polk County will be open today, but will be closed tomorrow and Thursday. And you can find all the information on our website, fox13news.com.
7:09, almost 7:10. It's going to be a long day and an even longer night for all of us. The waiting, the watching, the stress. And if you are in law enforcement, that stress is even greater. Taking care of your own families and then having to take care of all of us. Hillsborough County Sheriff Chad Chronister joins us this morning to talk about these last-minute preps ahead of the storm. Sheriff, good morning.
Good morning. You're exactly right. It's going to be a long day. We're even bringing tomorrow's morning shift will come in tonight and sleep at the offices, so they're prepared to respond.
Wow. So what's your best advice to all of us at this point?
This isn't a time to panic, but it is a time to be prepared. If, and that's a strong if this storm stays on this projected path that it's on now, we know that what we're most fearful of is the storm surge. 4 to 6 inches of rain trying to get out with a king tide and the storm surge trying to get in. There's going to be a lot of flooding. So even when it starts to get nicer tomorrow mid-morning and we believe that we're out of the storm path and that we're feeling much better, we're going to face some flooding. So my point to everyone, my advice is be prepared. If you know that you're power dependent, go to a shelter. If you know that you're in those low-lying, flood-prone areas, please go visit, stay with someone else. Don't put you or your family at risk because you're saying, hey, I'm going to ride it out. Because just like you continue to see from any type of first responder or law enforcement official, once those winds get to a certain point, once that flooding gets to a certain point, and our deputies and law enforcement are used to facing those dangerous situations, but we're not going to put them in any unnecessary dangerous situation. They're not coming. There's no more sinking feeling when you pick up the phone and call and help's not on the way.
And one of the good things at this point is we still have several hours before this is going to get bad. And you got time to get stuff done today.
Great point, Russell. That's what I'm saying. This isn't the time to panic. There's plenty of time if you're in those areas to get some sandbags, relocate, any type of storm items. We know most likely, at minimum, we're going to have some power outages, which means be prepared if you do lose power for those items or anything that you need to get you through until the power is restored as quick as it will be.
You brought up an interesting point a few minutes ago, and the governor stressed it yesterday. We talk about if you are needing to evacuate. You don't. We have those horrible visions of people on 75, on 275, on I-4, just crowded roadways. You don't have to go that far. That's an important thing to bring up here. Just to get to higher ground, get to somebody's house that you know that's in a safer area, right?
That's it. No one's telling you have to flee the state, that you have to go to New Hampshire or go someplace in the Northeast. You can go a few counties over that aren't going to feel the effects of this storm, stay at a friend's house and be just as well. People are heeding a warning. I do see some people evacuating. I see a lot of people at the sandbag locations getting the items that they need. I've visited some of the stores. I see there's not a lot of panic. No, you don't need 100 rolls of toilet paper and 17 pallets of water. Just enough to get you through a few days here in case you lose power. But I do see some people going to stay at hotels. I see some hotels that are lowering their rates, trying to entice people, hey, stay out of danger and come here. So it's working. Again, as much as we believe that we're old pros here at storms, it's not a time to be complacent, just it's a time to be prepared.
Sheriff, thank you. Good to see you.
Have a great day, everyone.
Thank you. Hey, no, go away. We've got a lot more about the storm. Dave's next with an interview with someone from the National Hurricane Center. It's 7:13.
It's Dr. Mike. Listen, folks, yet another study showing the health benefits of drinking coffee. This study showed a reduction in type 2 diabetes. How does that work? It reduces insulin resistance by decreasing inflammation. So drink your coffee, enjoy it, and you will live a long, healthy life. I'm Dr. Mike Sirigliano with the Fox Medical Team.
Hey, I've got a tip to finally make your bananas last longer. Once they're cut, ethylene gas starts escaping from the stem, and that's why they start ripening. So you don't want to put bananas in a bowl of fruit because they will all ripen too fast. But you do want to hang your bananas and put some foil or plastic wrap over the stem, it actually slows down the release of that gas. I'm Heather Sullivan, and that's some Sullivan Smart Sense.
Your loved one has passed, so who does their debt pass to? As a general rule, the estate is responsible, meaning if you stand to inherit money, the estate must first pay off all debts. Secured debt that can't be paid off, like a mortgage or a car note, can be subject to repossession. Medical debt won't be passed to your kids, but may become the responsibility of your spouse. Federal student loans, on the other hand, will most likely be forgiven if a family member applies on behalf of the deceased. I'm Steve Noviello. That's my 2 cents. Spend it wisely.
Can the police go through your trash without a warrant? Well, the short answer is yes, depending on where you put it. They can't just waltz into your home without a warrant and start digging. That violates the Fourth Amendment's protection against unreasonable search and seizure. But the Supreme Court made a trash exception in a case called California v. Greenwood. The court reasoned that if you leave your trash out on the curb, you're essentially giving up any privacy interest in what's in the bag.
Now, Fox 13 meteorologist Dave Osterberg with your Sky Tower radar forecast.
Time now is 7:16, and for the very latest on now Hurricane Adalia, I want to head down to the National Hurricane Center with the director there, Michael Brennan, joining us. As we talked yesterday, everything seems, Michael, so far to be just kind of moving along schedule, correct?
Yeah, not a lot of surprises since yesterday. We did see Adalia go on and become a hurricane. We're still expecting landfall somewhere along the Florida Gulf Coast through Tampa Bay up into the Big Bend region as we move into tomorrow morning. Still expecting Adalia to rapidly intensify and reach major hurricane strength. And so we're still looking at that, substantial storm surge threat along much of the west coast of Florida.
Michael, from here on out, we've got an eye on the eye, basically. Every radar we've got, we are in range now to watch this minute by minute. And it seems to me, and I really want your opinion on this, it seems to me that, is this going up maybe the eastern side of the cone, or is it right in the middle of the cone? Because I know it's the cone error gets smaller and smaller, but a 30-40 mile jog would make a big difference for the Tampa Bay area.
Yeah, it sure does. And, it's hard to tell. Sometimes we see short-term wobbles in the motion of hurricanes, especially as they're strengthening. So we have to wait and see if any of those short-term wobbles turn into longer-term trends. But you're right, because if Adalia moves along the east side of the cone, that's going to make, much more in the terms of potentially higher storm surge, potentially stronger winds into the direct Tampa Bay region. Even if it moves farther west, you're still going to be on that right side of the storm. So you're still going to get those substantial impacts as well.
No, absolutely. And I think for people in the Tampa Bay area, something we haven't had a lot of storm surge issues, Michael, in the past years. Most of the storms have gone into our south. We get that north wind. So even though most of the hurricane force winds may stay offshore, depending on the track, of course, we always say depending on the track, the water is still going to be a big problem, even with this storm going up into the Big Bend.
That's true. Yeah, that huge surge of push of water from the Gulf up into the mouth of Tampa Bay. If you get sustained winds of even 45, 50, 55 miles per hour blowing into the mouth of the bay for a sustained period of time, that's just going to pile up all that water in the bay. Then you're going to have rainfall falling as well. So you're going to have water coming in from the freshwater side and the saltwater side. And again, Tampa Bay is under a hurricane warning. People need to be prepared as if they're going to experience those hurricane conditions.
So the bottom line this morning is this. Everything is on target for the forecast as we speak. We can watch it minute by minute now, and everybody, especially up in the Big Bend, needs to just get their preparations done.
That's right. Yeah. Today, you got a few more hours before the conditions start to deteriorate. You can already see on radar there's some outer rain bands starting to move into the area. It's going to make things gradually more difficult throughout the day to evacuate, to prepare, to get everything done. You're certainly going to want to be in your safe place by later today.
And if for some reason it does deviate from the track at all, we know we'll get back to you, and we'll get back to you. So
definitely.
Yes, thank you, Michael Brennan.
We're watching it too, Dave.
Yes, of course, absolutely. Thanks. Someone who's actually busier than I am this morning. Thank you so much, Michael Brennan, the director of the National Hurricane Center, joining us this morning. So let's get into it. Let's kind of talk about what's going on. I show you Clearwater Beach and the cloud cover that is starting to work its way in. This is anticipated. I will tell you this. You're waking up at 7:20. We just talked to the director of the National Hurricane Center. Not much has really changed from last night to this morning at this point. So this still gives you plenty of today to literally just get your preparations done, get where you need to be, take your time and relax. Look how quiet it is over here. It's just very quiet right along the coast. It's all going to pick up, but not until much, much later today. Here is the storm. We are going to track this literally hour by hour. You saw that big feeder band of rain, which is way out ahead of it. I want to show you a different map. This is the center of Adalia, 306 miles sort of southwest of here. But now we can just watch as it takes that due northerly track and runs parallel to the coast. 75-mile-per-hour winds you just heard. We are expecting rapid intensification, bringing this to a major hurricane just to our west tomorrow morning. And that's when our problems are going to start because of the water, right? That storm surge, that south wind just taking all of this water and pushing it up into the northeastern Gulf of Mexico, where it's going to kind of act like a washer, right? Just kind of wish-washing back and forth. So for a couple of high tides, this is going to be a problem for us. Tropical storm force winds, 40 to 50, maybe 60 miles per hour along the coast are expected. Hurricane force wind gusts possible but not probable, again, as long as that core of the storm stays offshore. So the worst of the weather will be here overnight tonight. Here's 1 a.m., 3, 4 a.m., 6 a.m. So you see most of the rain bands, most of the wind coming through later tonight, which gives us plenty of time again over the next probably 6 to 10 hours to get what you got to get done. So 8 to 12-foot storm surge from Chassahowitzka north, that's going to be a huge problem. Hey, listen, 4 to 7-foot storm surge in Tampa will be a big problem as well. This will happen late tonight and into tomorrow morning. So again, we still have some time during the day, clouding up, some scattered showers, some rain bands developing. Most of the activity is not going to get here until after the sun goes down tonight. Remember that. Still gives you plenty of time to get where you got to be. Then, of course, we've got the rain, the wind, the storm surge tomorrow morning. It's out of here late in the day tomorrow, and then things gradually get better. And we're kind of back to the heat and humidity and lower rain chances for Labor Day weekend. Don't forget, if you go to break, reminder, visit our website for the latest on Adalia. We update that site after every advisory, 5 and 11. Also, shelter and sandbag information there as well. And our coverage will continue after the break.
Hey there, I'm Heather Sullivan. I've got some Sullivan Smart Sense to help you free up space on your cell phone so you don't have to buy extra storage. Go to Photos, click on Albums, scroll down to Duplicates, and then click on Merge Two Items. It'll delete the duplicate photos. You can also delete the old emails, text messages, and voice messages that you no longer need.
Feeling a little hot at home? Stop cranking down your AC. That's right, dramatic dips in your settings don't actually cool your house any faster. This isn't a faucet. More pressure doesn't mean more production. Instead, the added pressure strains your air conditioner and can lead to equipment failures because the system will keep running as it tries to cool your home past its capacity. I'm Steve Noviello. That's my 2 cents. Spend it wisely.
Hey, it's Dr. Mike. Listen, new guidelines advise that everyone with average risk of colon cancer get a screening at age 45. Now, a lot of people are nervous about this kind of thing, but it saves lives. Make sure that you get that test at age 45 or earlier if you have some high risks. I'm Dr. Mike Sirigliano with the Fox Medical Team.
Can the police go through your trash without a warrant? Well, the short answer is yes, depending on where you put it. They can't just waltz into your home without a warrant and start digging. That violates the Fourth Amendment's protection against unreasonable search and seizure. But the Supreme Court made a trash exception in a case called California v. Greenwood. The court reasoned that if you leave your trash out on the curb, you're essentially giving up any privacy interest in what's in the bag.
Welcome back. It's 7:26 now, and time is running out to stock up. And a lot of people in Hillsborough saw supplies already running low.
Some of the sandbagging sites throughout the county and the city of Tampa ran out of sand yesterday, and those sites in Hillsborough County are back open right now. Sites in Tampa open at 8 o'clock. Sand isn't the only thing running low. Some residents were also struggling to find gas around Tampa, and water flew off the shelves quickly. So, word of advice, the earlier you try getting those items today, the better your odds are going to be.
And, you know, storms like this are unpredictable. It's hard to estimate the tidal surge. Here's a look at Tampa General Hospital yesterday. It's right on the water. So as a precaution, workers put up barriers to try to help protect the hospital from the storm surge. One of the protocols at TGH during a hurricane is having sufficient medical staff on site throughout the whole storm.
And if you lose power when the storm hits and you want to get updates from us, our news will be aired over several local radio stations. That includes Hot 101.5, 102.5 The Bone, and 97X.
And don't go away. Our team coverage continues coming up after the break. We've got Mariah Harrison in Hernando County checking on the evacuations. Charlie Belcher's in Pasco County for us.
Jen has an update on the local airports, and Walter has advice for anyone suffering from anxiety with this potential crisis looming. We'll be right back.
If you are relying on Amazon reviews to help you decide on a purchase, heads up. According to FakeSpot, the following categories are the most likely to have bogus or biased feedback: watches, Christmas decor, watch bands, sweaters, and pullovers. But the top spot for fake reviews? Slippers. FakeSpot says 71% on Amazon have fake reviews, with thousands of products and barely any name brands. I'm Steve Noviello. That's my 2 cents. Spend it wisely.
Hey, it's Dr. Mike. A new study found that even moderate drinking can reduce the volume of your brain. Now, this isn't good, and it can lead to a lot of problems. So everything in moderation. That's what my grandfather used to say. If you're going to drink, limit it, and don't do it every day. I'm Dr. Mike Sirigliano with the Fox Medical Team.
The price of a used car is down. In fact, wholesale used vehicle prices have experienced their largest decline since the start of the COVID-19 pandemic. While prices overall are still elevated from historic levels, the decline could help bring savings to consumers in the months to come. The dip is thanks to the rising availability of new vehicles and high interest rates, which have caused some buyers to hit the brakes. I'm Steve Noviello. That's my 2 cents. Spend it wisely.
I'm Heather Sullivan with Sullivan Smart Sense. Rental prices have skyrocketed 18% in 2 years, according to Redfin. So here's some tips to reduce your rent. Get a roommate. Shop for rentals in the winter when rents are lower. Consider privately owned rentals. Offer to pay a few months up front for a discount, and offer to do repairs or office work for a lower rent.
stations. You're watching Fox 13's Good Day Tampa Bay.
7:30 on this Tuesday morning. A delightful start to the day, believe it or not. 82 degrees outside with our winds still relatively light, and they're going to stay that way for a while. It doesn't look like we're going to. Once we get into the afternoon, the winds may start to pick up. But as far as getting into that tropical storm force winds for the Tampa Bay area, it probably won't be until this evening unless you get some of those tropical storm force wind gusts within, say, a heavier rain band. So there's the overall center of the storm. It is a hurricane now. We're beginning to see a little bit of lightning every once in a while kind of popping up around the center, more little hot towers trying to wrap around the center of the storm as it's trying to organize. It is trying to intensify, and it is now working into an area where it's very favorable for intensification and rapid intensification. And that is likely going to happen as the storm parallels the coast and continues to move up. Most of the activities on the eastern side. So yeah, stands to reason we're still going to go with our original forecast of 3 to 6 inches of rain. We'll have isolated tornadoes. The storm surge, I still think, is our largest threat. But none of this is going to happen for the next several hours. This is not going to be until much later today and tonight, and really the worst of it coming through in the overnight hours. You can actually see where the center of the storm is. You know, kind of circle it for you. Still looks a little ragged right around the center, but hurricane force winds are going to be right about here. You see that heavier band of rain in the northeast quadrant? That is likely where you're going to start to see some of the heaviest winds. So we're just going to follow this little area as it drifts north throughout the day, as long as it stays well to the west. The forecast track, again, it's not going to change much from where it is right now. If it travels up the eastern side of this cone, it would be more impact for us. If it travels up the western side of the cone, it would be less impact for us. Either way, I still believe that storm surge is going to be our biggest issue. As far as forecast winds, relatively light until we get into this evening when the tropical storm force winds by around 5 or 6. You see them in Venice. Then they start to work their way up the coast, and we get to 3, 4, 5 o'clock in the morning, some of our strongest winds coming through, maybe 50 to 60 mile per hour wind gusts along the coast. Could we get one of hurricane strength along the coast? Yes, we could. But as far as sustained hurricane force winds, we don't see that unless the storm was to shift toward the east. But based on the current track, it's going to be the water, because all the wave activity that this is generating, the big surge of water in the eastern Gulf that it's going to be picked up, it's just going to be bringing it with it. So as this storm moves north of us late tonight, we got a big high tide coming up at 3 o'clock tomorrow morning, give or take, depending on where you are. And I think that's what's going to unfortunately be the worst of it for us, with that 4 to 7 feet in the Tampa Bay area for that storm surge. And once you get up to Chassahowitzka, even worse, when it could be 8 to 12 feet. We're also under a flood watch as well. So really everything is about where we left you yesterday. 4 to 7 foot storm surge in Tampa Bay late tonight, early tomorrow morning, 8 to 12 in Citrus County. Tropical storm force winds late today, maybe a hurricane force wind gust along the coast, 3 to 6 inches of rain and isolated tornadoes. But for the next 6 to 8 hours, other than a few random showers, we should be looking okay. Kaylee's?
All right, Dave, well, that's good news for now. 7:34 is our time if you're heading out the door. The Sunshine Skyway Bridge, but most importantly, tolls are suspended on your toll routes until Tuesday at noon. The rest of the roadways, though, will take you right outside to see what that looks like. I-4 east of McIntosh Road in both directions moving along just fine. A lot of green out there. Downtown Tampa's in good shape right now. No major problems to report there. Then down to Manatee County, where 75's in good shape. Over the Manatee River, no problems. In Sarasota, 75 to and from Venice is looking good. Tamiami Trail also in good shape. And a reminder, those toll routes, all of those tolls, Vets, Selman, Polk Parkway, your I-4 connector, all suspended until Tuesday at noon because of the storm.
Okay, thank you. Well, Hurricane Adalia gains strength. Thousands of people living along the coast and low-lying areas are under mandatory evacuations. Zone A in Hillsborough, Pinellas, Manatee, Pasco, Citrus, and Hernando County.
And Hernando is where we find Mariah Harrison for us this morning. Good morning, Mariah.
Hi, good morning. So those mandatory evacuations are also in place here in Hernando County for zones A, B, and C. We will get another update from local officials here in the county later on this morning. That should be happening at 10. But their message early this morning to start the day, it's coming in loud and clear. They say that these evacuations are now mandatory along the coast, and you should be monitoring the storm progress at home or wherever you're seeking shelter. Today should really be about getting out and also getting to the east. There is still just a little bit of time left to get those sandbags, really harden your homes or your businesses. But again, getting out, getting east of US 19, that should be the focus for people in Hernando County today. So that concern really with Adalia is the storm surge. Again, west of US 19, the evacuation zones for Hernando, they all hug US 19 or extend out to the west. In theory, safety officials hope that homeowners and business owners in those zones use their time yesterday to secure any loose items, board their windows, but most importantly, preparing for the flooding.
Oh, yeah, it's been fantastic. We've knocked down, that pile's been knocked down once already. This one over here has been knocked down once. I just refilled this one. I think I personally filled about 250 myself so far. It's been a busy morning. Everyone's working together, helping fill, helping load. We're really concerned about the storm surge, so that's why we're out here.
We've been with the luck with Ian, and of course it took the turn to the right, but if it hadn't come straight up, I think we still would have been okay with the tides. This one's way too high. It's scary.
So that was a glimpse into those sandbag locations around the county, how they held up yesterday. But according to the county website, if you still need them, those sandbag locations at Linda Peterson Park, Anderson Snow Park, and Ridge Manor, the community center there, they will stay open until, quote, the weather deteriorates. But that could all change with these mandatory evacuations now in place. Again, those have gone into effect. They started at 7 o'clock this morning. Again, we do expect to get another update from local officials here in Hernando right around 10 o'clock this morning. But anybody who's watching this morning, still in the county, maybe still in one of those evacuation zones, those roads, all of those major routes away from the coast are definitely now going to start to get bogged down. A lot of the traffic, you should expect traffic jams, will be heading south and likely east as well, guys.
Okay. All right, Mariah Harrison, line for us this morning. Thank you, Mariah.
So while our area may not take a direct hit from Hurricane Adalia, there are still potential problems. Not only the tidal surge, but all of the rain we're expecting. Charlie's in Pasco County, where flooding could be an issue in all of this. Out of Charlie's world and into the real world this morning,
the real
right?
World. Yeah, I don't like this nearly as much, I'll be honest with you. I'd rather be in Charlie's world. Thank you very much. My worlds are colliding. Russell Rhodes, and you said the word could see flooding in Pasco County. I'm hearing more words like will. We will see flooding in Pasco County. This is Andrew Fossa. He is the Emergency Management Director for Pasco County. The Emergency Operations Center you've activated. You're here through the duration at this point, Mr. Fossa. What is your message to Pasco County residents right now? And here we got a few hours left before the weather turns this afternoon. Now's the time to do what you need them to do.
Heed the warning. We do have an evacuation order in place. We do have a mandatory for Zone A, voluntary for Zone B and C. Special needs population are under mandatory evacuation. Heed the warning. We are going to get water in Pasco County tonight. The question is, how much and how far will the water come in? Yeah. The coastline, anywhere west of US 19, will see flooding. My advice to them is pack up. Go tens of miles, not hundreds of miles, family, friends, hotels. If you can't do that, find a shelter. We have 6 of them open throughout the county. Go there, stay there, be safe. Pasco Transportation is offering free bus rides to the shelters and from the shelters. But pack up, go away, and stay safe.
Yeah. Sandbags for the, people who live in areas of Pasco prone to flooding, they know that the water's coming. Advice on sandbags, and I know you got locations throughout. Will that still happen all this morning till the rain comes?
We have 9 locations open throughout the county, 10 bags per family. Okay. Sandbags are a stopgap. The water will find a way around sandbags also. It is a stopgap. It's a temporary fix. By all means, go to a sandbag location, barricade your doors, garage doors, any place of easy access. Do us a favor. Be orderly, kind, help your neighbor. We do have a lot of elderly citizens in Pasco County, and they will need some assistance with these bags also.
And just real quick before we go, I'm wrapping it up, but I just do want to show inside your Emergency Operations Center. This is the heartbeat, and I just want to show all the men and women in there that will be getting no sleep tonight. These folks are here for the duration.
Yes, they are. We went to a level 1 activation this morning at 7 o'clock. We're here 24 hours a day until we deem it safe, and then these kind folks that are here from the county will go back to their normal blue sky jobs.
Yeah, absolutely. Can't wait for those blue skies. Andrew Foster, thank you, sir, very much. Emergency Management Director for Pasco County. Listen to the warnings. Now is the time to take care of what you need to take care of and get somewhere safe.
Okay. Good advice. Thanks, Charlie.
And, you know, at a time like this, anxiety becomes an issue for a lot of people. There are so many things that can stress us out. Walter Allen is here now with more on that. Good morning.
Hi, Laura. Good morning to you. Think about all the things, the memories of past storms, the waiting, the wondering, the not knowing, all of this. It makes this time before and during the storm especially hard for some folks. And we talked to the Crisis Center of Tampa Bay earlier this morning. They were on the show in our 5 o'clock hour. They tell us that they're already seeing an uptick in calls, especially from Charlotte County in the Fort Myers area. Hurricane Ian turned and hit Charlotte last year. A lot of us are wondering what's going to happen this year. Adalia, is it going to wobble? Is it going to do the same thing? We just don't know, right? And then it's keeping your kids calm and informed about what's going on. Here's some great advice.
You are as honest with them as you possibly can be. First of all, dispel any myths, particularly if your little person has a phone or their friends have phones. Yeah. All sorts of stuff may be out there. So find out what they know, dispel those myths, tell them the truth, let them know what's going on, and then reinforce and reassure them that you are doing everything possible to keep them safe, to get the house ready, and that together we're going to get to on the other side of this.
Clara also says that if the news is causing you more agitation than education, put yourself on a bit of a media diet. Maybe just check in the 11 o'clock and the 5 o'clock for those 2 advisories, and then give yourself a little bit of a break. And then take time for yourself. Watch a silly movie. Do something for you. The Crisis Center is planning to hunker down and be there to take all of our calls. If you're feeling the stress and anxiety, you are invited to call 211. Again, Russell has 211. Okay.
Well, if you're planning to fly somewhere today, you're going to have to change your plans. Jen's here with the status of the Bay Area airports. Hi.
Hey, Russell. One of them is already shut down. Tampa International Airport began suspending all commercial flight operations at midnight. Now, airport managers say safety is their top priority, and they're working hard to secure anything on the airport property that could be blown away during high winds. All of the jet bridges, you know, those walkways from the gate to the plane, they're going to be chained down. All commercial aircraft need to go somewhere else. And the biggest concern at TPA is storm surge. The southern part of the airport is next to the bay, so there's a strong possibility of flooding on airport property. We're told closing the airport is their last resort. Some travelers had to make last-minute changes to avoid getting stuck.
I was supposed to go to Costa Rica Wednesday from Tampa, but the Tampa part got canceled, so I had to make some changes. I'm still going Wednesday, but I just got to be to Miami make sure I'm in Miami by like 6, because I'm flying out of Miami, so, yeah.
So you got to drive 4 hours and then fly. Yeah. Okay.
Airport managers say they're hoping to assess storm damage as early as tomorrow morning. They'll make any necessary repairs, and they do hope to reopen Thursday morning. And it's not just TPA. The St. Pete Clearwater International Airport, or PIE, is also closing down ahead of the storm that will happen around 3 o'clock this afternoon. They won't reopen for at least 24 hours. And meantime, as of right now, the Sarasota-Bradenton Airport plans to stay open. You can just call ahead to confirm that. Russell?
All right, Jen, thank you. Don't go away. We got much more coverage on Adalia. And from Dave, the time right now is 7:44.
Your loved one has passed, so who does their debt pass to? As a general rule, the estate is responsible, meaning if you stand to inherit money, the estate must first pay off all debts. Secured debt that can't be paid off, like a mortgage or a car note, can be subject to repossession. Medical debt won't be passed to your kids, but may become the responsibility of your spouse. Federal student loans, on the other hand, will most likely be forgiven if a family member applies on behalf of the deceased. I'm Steve Noviello. That's my 2 cents. Spend it wisely.
Hey, I'm Heather Sullivan with Sullivan Smart Sense to get free ebooks and audiobooks. Download a free app called Libby, Libby. 90% of public libraries work with this app, and you can read the books in the app or download them to your Kindle. Happy reading.
Hey, it's Dr. Mike. Listen, new guidelines advise that everyone with average risk of colon cancer get a screening at age 45. Now, a lot of people are nervous about this kind of thing, but it saves lives. Make sure that you get that test at age 45 or earlier if you have some high risks. I'm Dr. Mike Sirigliano with the Fox Medical Team.
Can the police go through your trash without a warrant? Well, the short answer is yes, depending on where you put it. They can't just waltz into your home without a warrant and start digging. That violates the Fourth Amendment's protection against unreasonable search and seizure. But the Supreme Court made a trash exception in a case called California v. Greenwood. The court reasoned that if you leave your trash out on the curb, you're essentially giving up any privacy interest in what's in the bag.
Now, Fox 13 meteorologist Dave Osterberg with your Sky Tower radar forecast.
Good Tuesday morning at 7:47. Wow, how quiet and calm it looks in the Gulf of Mexico right now. Yet tomorrow morning at this time, it will look very, very different indeed, as you got a hurricane way down there starting to work its way into the southeastern Gulf of Mexico. 81 degrees, southeast winds at about 5 miles per hour. Here's a big rain band, which kind of has detached itself a little bit, kind of away from the actual main circulation of Adalia. It's been weakening a little bit, but we'll watch this as it kind of pinwheels through. Might get a little rain from that, but the main area of rain and wind, it's still well to the south. But you're seeing something happening right in the center of this storm. You see how it's becoming a little bit more symmetrical looking, getting a lot of lightning in the center. This is the storm trying to intensify, okay? Trying to do that rapid intensification that all of the computer models said it was going to do. So the only difference between last night and this morning is it went from a tropical storm to a hurricane, folks. That's it. The path really hasn't changed. The impacts of what we feel our impacts are going to be, which we'll show you in a second, those really haven't changed as well. You're talking about a storm that's about 300 miles to the southwest, kind of a ragged-looking center of the storm. This is from the Key West radar, but now that we have the center on the Key West radar, we'll be able to watch this all the way up to the west, and then as it turns in toward the Big Bend, and whenever it makes that turn as well. And if it shifts, if it deviates from the path that it's supposed to take, when I say supposed to take, the one that we're thinking it's going to take, we will know immediately at that point. So just understand that still, the one thing that we're concerned about is if this bumps into the eastern side of the cone, which is, of course, completely possible, well within the forecast realm of accuracy here, takes the eastern side of the cone, all of a sudden it gets a little bit closer, and we're going to get some stronger winds and maybe some more of the heavier rain bands and such. So that we have to wait for as it gets a little bit closer to see when it starts to make that turn toward the north and the east. But we're still thinking that storm surge is going to be our big, big problem around here. 4 to 7 feet of storm surge tomorrow morning. This is not going to be an impact today. Understand that. You saw how quiet the Gulf is right now. But as this storm starts to move, it's going to pick up its forward speed. It's going to be intensifying, perhaps maybe a major hurricane. You take all that energy and that forward speed, and this is going to pick up a lot of water. And now that water is going to roll right into the northeast Gulf of Mexico, and it's just going to start sloshing around up here, and that's where we're going to have our big problem. So at about 1 a.m. tomorrow morning, you see how it's kind of sitting by our latitude as it continues to move toward the north and the east. But we will get some pretty hefty rain bands, and inside those rain bands, that's where you're going to get some of those strong tropical storm force wind gusts. Okay, they'll typically be inside those bands. Now, once the storm passes to the north, you're going to say, it's to the north, it's all done. No, because now we got to deal with water being pushed back into the bay. Water being pushed into the bay will be a problem all day tomorrow. So, again, it's going to be a situation where the storm is moving away, but our main concern at that point will be the water flowing into the bay. And that's why the storm surge at this point is our primary issue. And we're still thinking a 4 to 7 foot storm surge into Tampa Bay at the time of high tide very early tomorrow morning and then once again tomorrow afternoon. So the showers and storms will develop much later today, 92 degrees. It's going to be a hot day. It's going to start to get a little breezy late in the day. But in earnest, the tropical storm force winds won't start till tonight. And then they'll be all day tomorrow, especially in our northern counties, with those rain bands and that storm surge. And then it all ends late on Wednesday. And, of course, the improving conditions from there Thursday, Friday, and holiday weekend coming up. Rain chances are going to lower. We'll be back in just a couple of minutes here on Good Day. Thanks for joining us this morning.
Hey, it's Dr. Mike. A new study found that hangovers will really get you in your mid-30s. Now, I don't like to see anyone at any age drink too much, but the older you get, the more likely you're going to suffer after drinking too much. Take plenty of fluids, stay off the highways. I'm Dr. Mike Sirigliano with the Fox Medical Team.
To get the most out of your cell phone battery, consider shallow charging. Instead of draining your battery to zero, recharge at 50%. When you charge it up, stop at about 90%. Once a month, you should run it down to 5% and recharge so it can recalibrate its self-assessment. When charging is done, remove your phone from the charger. Electronics will age faster if they're left plugged in when fully charged. I'm Steve Noviello. That's my 2 cents. Spend it wisely.
Hey, I'm Heather Sullivan with Sullivan Smart Sense to help you cut your impulse spending. Remove your credit card information from the retail websites where you shop, like Amazon or Walmart. If it's stored, it's just too easy to click and spend. Having to enter your credit card information each time gives you more time to think before you buy.
Can police search your car without a warrant? Well, the short answer is yes. The Fourth Amendment protects us from unreasonable search and seizure. The Supreme Court says a search is unreasonable without a warrant supported by probable cause. But there is an automobile exception. Why? Well, we have less of an expectation of privacy in the car, and there are public safety concerns on shared road. Police can search your car without a warrant if you give permission or if you've been arrested.
You're watching Good Day Tampa Bay.
All right, let's get back to our Hurricane Adalia coverage shortly. But first, there are a few other things that we're going to tell you about. The UNC Chapel Hill community is looking for answers after a faculty member was shot and killed on campus yesterday.
Now, no one else was injured in the shooting. It happened around 1 p.m. when the shots were reported at the Cowdell Labs building. Students got alerts to shelter in place as police looked for the gunman. A suspect was taken into custody around 2:30. The identities were not going to be released until formal charges are filed. The faculty members identified name will not be released either until the family is notified. UNC police have not detailed the relationship between the victim and the shooter or indicated a motive. The investigation is ongoing and could take several weeks.
Hawaii Electric Company is taking responsibility for the fire that first broke out on Maui, but it is not taking the blame for the destruction. The company released a statement on Sunday night claiming that their power lines were de-energized more than 6 hours before the second blaze broke out. Hawaiian Electric instead blames the firefighters for declaring the first blaze fully contained. Their statement was in response to a lawsuit that was filed by Maui County accusing the company of not shutting off the power.
Trial against former President Trump related to his alleged efforts to overturn the 2020 election results is now scheduled for March the 4th. That's just 1 day before Super Tuesday, which is a crucial day in the Republican primary race. The prosecution wanted an earlier January start date, and Trump's lawyers wanted to delay the trial for 2 years until after the next election in 2026.
And, of course, the big story for us locally is Hurricane Adalia. We are still unsure where it's going, but we do know that we're going to feel some of the effects from the storm. Do it rain, wind, tidal surge. We've got reporters in several key counties, and our coverage continues after the break.
Hey there, I'm Heather Sullivan. I've got some Sullivan Smart Sense to help you free up space on your cell phone so you don't have to buy extra storage. Go to Photos, click on Albums, scroll down to Duplicates, and then click on Merge Two Items. It'll delete the duplicate photos. You can also delete the old emails, text messages, and voice messages that you no longer need.
Your loved one has passed, so who does their debt pass to? As a general rule, the estate is responsible, meaning if you stand to inherit money, the estate must first pay off all debts. Secured debt that can't be paid off, like a mortgage or a car note, can be subject to repossession. Medical debt won't be passed to your kids, but may become the responsibility of your spouse. Federal student loans, on the other hand, will most likely be forgiven if a family member applies on behalf of the deceased. I'm Steve Noviello. That's my 2 cents. Spend it wisely.
Is smoking weed against the law? Although half the states in the country have legalized lighting up in some way, it is still against federal law. Katie Barlow here. Marijuana is classified as a Schedule I drug under federal law. That's the same as heroin and LSD, and even higher than fentanyl and meth. President Biden says he's looking into it, but you can still face federal charges. So be careful where you light up, and remember, crossing state lines with weed is a no-no.
Hey, it's Dr. Mike. New research shows that if you work remotely and you don't get up and move around, you're going to be in big trouble. You're going to gain weight. You're going to be depressed and anxious. Your vision is going to be problematic. Look, folks, you need to get up and move around at least every 20 minutes. Make sure you invest in that Health 401k. I'm Dr. Mike Sirigliano with the Fox Medical Team.
Get your day started the right way with Good Day Tampa Bay.
Right now at 8, as Florida braces for Adalia, we're getting our first look at what the storm brought to Cuba.
And just as forecast, Adalia is strengthening as it heads north toward Florida. It's a hurricane now.
And good morning. It's 8 o'clock. I'm Laura Moody.
And I'm Russell Rhodes. Thanks for being here. Right over to Dave.
Clouds starting to roll in, obviously, of course, out ahead of the storm, which, again, the majority of the impact for us is going to be later tonight and early tomorrow morning. So we still have a nice several-hour window today where we can still get prepped and ready so you can just relax and you don't have to be somewhere in an hour. So understand that. We still have some time. If you look at the overall picture, it is stronger this morning. At 5 a.m., they made it a hurricane with winds of 75 miles per hour. Now, they just tacked on 5 miles per hour to the 8 o'clock advisory, saying how it is beginning to strengthen. And all I got to do is look right down into the center of that storm, and you see that little flashing, those blinking whites, that's lightning. So lightning is occurring in and around the center of this storm, meaning it is intensifying. This is exactly what it was supposed to do. It was supposed to start that rapid intensification this morning, and it seems like kind of right on cue, that is what it's beginning to do. As the crow flies about 300 miles or so to the southwest is where the center of the storm is, and it's moving north at around 8 miles per hour. No, it's not moving north at 14 now, so it's picking up its forward speed, again, as it was forecasted to do. The cone is very small now, and realize that even though we're technically still not into the cone, if this storm is to ride the eastern side of the cone, which is completely plausible, we would end up getting those hurricane force wind gusts along the coast. If it rides the western side of this cone all the way up past us, again, you keep the hurricane force winds offshore. So that is a question that we're going to have to answer as we get a little bit closer. The difference is, in terms of the storm surge, it's not going to move much. 4 to 7 feet is exactly what we're anticipating. That is what we're thinking is going to happen, but it's not going to happen until later tonight. Understand that during the day today, even at the time of high tide, it will be higher than normal. Okay, don't get me wrong, but the big tides are tomorrow morning and tomorrow afternoon. Tropical storm force winds based on the models would get here this evening. The stronger winds overnight, 50, 60 mile per hour winds along the coast, maybe 30 to 40 for Polk County. That'll give you a range, but it keeps most of the hurricane force winds offshore, meaning that's not our main concern. The water is, because this is going to pour in water from the Gulf of Mexico, and it's going to do it late tonight and really all day tomorrow, and this is where our big problem is going to lie. 4 to 7 foot storm surge in Tampa, 6 to 9 feet, Pasco County, Hernando County, 8 to 12 as you're getting up into the Chassahowitzka area. Obviously closer to where the storm would make landfall. Hurricane warning continues, the flood watch is out, and we do have a chance for severe weather, meaning some spin-up tornadoes are a possibility. Right now it's quiet, and it will stay quiet through lunch, early afternoon, and then we're going to check in with Paul at 4, and that's when things should start to begin to deteriorate for our southern counties. Kayleigh?
All right, Dave. 8:02 is our time, and some issues on the roadways. We'll get to that in just a moment, but here's a live look outside now at I-4 at Branch Forbes Road. You can see a stalled vehicle on the side here on that eastbound side. Volume out there, but moving along. Howard Franklin's in good shape, so that's good news. We'll take you right out to the Polk Parkway, where we do have an accident just at Florida Avenue. You can see those westbound delays behind that scene there, and all the way down to downtown Tampa, where the downtown interchange is in good shape and a lot of green right now. Pinellas County looking good here, no major problems there. A look at your toll routes, all checking in at normal speeds except for Polk Parkway, which you just saw that accident at. And just a reminder, all the toll routes are suspended, toll fees are suspended until Tuesday at noon.
Well, as Hurricane Adalia gains strength, thousands of people across our area are under mandatory evacuation orders.
And remember, that means that if you choose to stay, emergency services may not be available to you. Here's a look at active evacuation areas right now. In Pasco County, it's Zone A and low-lying areas. Manatee County, same, mandatory evacuations for Zone A and voluntary evacuations for Zone B. And in Citrus County, it's a mandatory for Zone A.
In Hillsborough and Pinellas counties, there are evacuation orders in Zone A, and anyone living in mobile homes or low-lying areas prone to flooding. Hernando, it's zones A, B, and C, along with those living in low-lying areas and manufactured homes.
In Sarasota County, officials are calling for people in Zone A to evacuate. That includes barrier islands, mobile homes, and those living on boats. And remember, you don't have to go far to leave your home if you leave your home. For a full list of evacuation zones and shelters, it's viewable anytime at fox13news.com.
Last night, Tropical Storm Adalia made landfall in Cape San Antonio in the western tip of Cuba. Adalia thrashed the island with a heavy rain, especially in the westernmost part of the island, where the tobacco-producing province of Pinar del Rio is still recovering from the devastation caused by Hurricane Ian almost a year ago. So far, no major damage has been reported, but authorities expect the slow-moving storm to continue to bring rain throughout the day. All right, we're going to start our live coverage now in Pinellas County. We just got an update from officials there.
And Fox 13's Kelly Cowan is live for us at Tropicana Field, where first responders are gathering to help some of the areas most vulnerable. Good morning, Kelly.
Good morning to you. Yeah, they're getting ready to roll out of here shortly. You see these school buses lined up here, staged behind me at Tropicana Field, and the EMTs with them. They are going to be helping out some residents today to evacuate to shelters, those residents that need help getting there. So those with mobility issues, things like that. If this is someone that this might apply to you or somebody in your family, you can still sign up for these services. So they're going to be running these buses throughout the day to get folks who need the assistance to get to a shelter, to that shelter, as long as they possibly can, as long as weather permits. So anybody that needs that service can still sign up. But there are mandatory evacuation orders in place for Zone A and anyone in Pinellas County living in a mobile home. And the big concern here in Pinellas, as with other coastal communities, is going to be storm surge and flooding. They're expecting, of course, higher than normal full moon tides, as we've been talking about throughout the morning, as well as heavy rain, and then 4 to 7 feet of storm surge. So they really are expecting that to cause a lot of issues in the low-lying and coastal areas. Anyone who was here just a few years ago for Hurricane Ada, they're expecting things to be very similar here in Pinellas County to what the conditions were then under Ada. But Pinellas officials really urging any resident that is in an evacuation zone to heed those orders, and anyone who might have an issue if they need emergency assistance during a storm, because once storm winds hit about 40 miles per hour, they are going to have to do an assessment of whether or not it's safe for their emergency responders to go out into the storm. Sometimes they end up cutting off emergency services. So what they're warning is that you need to be prepared in that instance, and they do have emergency responders at the shelters. So if you're somebody that's going to need emergency assistance or is a little bit more vulnerable, make sure you're in the right place.
If there is an emergency, there's a spot where we can't move because it's too dangerous for anybody. So the message is, if you are there, understand that help might not be able to get to you until the conditions get better.
And as we enter the final day to prepare for the storm, there are some sandbag locations in Pinellas County that have already ceased operations. Others will be open today as long as supplies last and as long as the weather permits. You can check out a full list of those on our website, fox13news.com. Another thing that Pinellas officials are asking residents to do right now and not do later once the storm starts is, if you need to run laundry or do a load of dishes, do that now. They don't want you running dishwashers or washing machines tonight when the storm is coming in, because they don't want to overtax the sewage and wastewater systems. They're going to be busy enough with the storm, so make sure that you get any of that out of the way as early as you can, and sign up for those text alerts. They're there for a reason. They're going to keep you updated. Even if your power goes off, you lose signal to us or to the radio, you will still be able to get those text alerts in. If anything significant is happening with the storm, you're going to get the latest information that way. And as a final warning, charge your cell phone. Make sure you're not heading into the start of the storm with a low battery. So now is really the time to start charging up all those devices.
And you mentioned the battery packs, too, which was a good idea. I put that on my list. All right, Kelly Cowan, live for us this morning. Thank you, Kelly. All right, now we're going to head up north to Denellen, where preparations are underway and the community is coming together to help each other.
Regina Gonzalez joins us live near the Citrus and Marion County line. Good morning.
Good morning, Russell and Laura. Yeah, that is the message here at the Blue Gator. That's exactly where I'm standing right now. We are all in this together. We're actually going to be heading up to Citrus County later in the morning. That is where the biggest threat for up to 11 feet of storm surge is lingering as this hurricane nears us. But we are actually learning that a lot of people, that's only about 20 minutes away. You guys mentioned before that you don't have to go far to evacuate. A lot of people are evacuating at the Blue Gator. It's a restaurant bar. They've got boat rentals, and then there's also a motel here that is booked up for the next couple of days. So I do want to bring in a gentleman who has been running around and doing this all. We've got Stan Larrabee with us. Stan, good morning. You guys, all your rooms booked. Tell me what's going on.
Well, we have a lot of people heading this way, just trying to get out of harm's way. They don't have to go that far, like you said, to get away from the coast. But we got everything going here. We brought in all our equipment so that we can try to cook for people if we do lose power. We're trying to get set up to help feed first responders, and just generally take care of our people here locally.
Definitely. Can you explain to people, because I have to admit, Stan, when I came here, I was like, oh, wow, they're on the water. They need to be really careful. But explain how you guys aren't expecting a lot of flooding.
Well, I mean, we are going to see a rise in the water, but we're not going to see the same as on the coast. We're not tidal, so we don't have anything to do with the ocean, really. We will see the water rise from the rain, obviously, and it will continue to rise for the next few days. And there is, some danger there, but not near as much as the storm surge.
That's really interesting, and that's good to know. What is your message to residents right now? I know you guys may not be expecting a lot of water, but a lot of the surrounding areas are.
Just be safe, follow your evacuation orders, do things early, don't wait till the last minute, get your loved ones and your pets and, the important possessions and paperwork together. And if you have to go, follow the directions.
What does the community look like over the last couple of days? Lots of people getting gas, lots of people preparing?
It's been very busy. But, most people are generally, pretty good about it, and everybody understands that this is kind of a group thing. So we all have to take care of each other and have a little extra patience and just try to do the best we can.
Definitely. Well, Stan, thank you so much for joining us. We're going to send it back to you guys. But big message here, once again, we're all in this together. And that is exactly what Blue Gator is going to do. They're going to be here for the people of Marion County, Citrus County, anybody who needs it. They're going to have food, generators, gas. They've got it all.
All right, Gina. Thank you. And make sure you are caught up where the flood and evacuation zones are. Visit fox13news.com or download the Fox 13 app to get the latest information about evacuations and shelters in your area. And you can follow Adalia with us right at your fingertips. Just download the Sky Tower Radar app. You'll get the latest track and notifications.
All right, stay with us. Our Hurricane Adalia coverage continues all morning.
Dave's up next with another full forecast. But first, another hurricane fact as we prepare for Adalia. According to the National Weather Service, frequently the right or east side of a hurricane is the most dangerous in terms of storm surge, winds, and tornadoes. And that could well be us with Adalia. We'll be right back.
Hey, I'm Heather Sullivan. Are you having some trouble sleeping? Well, you don't have to buy a sleep machine. Did you know that iPhones offer free background sounds like the rain or the ocean? Go to Accessibility, then click on Audio Video, and then click on Background Sounds. You get to choose the sound, and that's some Sullivan Smart Sense.
Hey, it's Dr. Mike. In a new study of 68,000 teens, they found that even occasional marijuana use had negative effects on their developing brains. Depression, anxiety, decreased cognitive function. Listen, folks, you have to have that discussion with your adolescents and teens. No marijuana use. I'm Dr. Mike Sirigliano with the Fox Medical Team.
Your loved ones may live forever. That is the name of a new AI project. The goal is to digitize enough videos, voice recording, documents, and photos of a person, then feed it all to an AI system that learns everything it can about the individual. The technology could one day become so advanced that avatars would exhibit intelligent behavior equivalent to or indistinguishable from that of a living human being. I'm Steve Noviello. That's my 2 cents. Spend it wisely.
Can the police go through your trash without a warrant? Well, the short answer is yes, depending on where you put it. They can't just waltz into your home without a warrant and start digging. That violates the Fourth Amendment's protection against unreasonable search and seizure. But the Supreme Court made a trash exception in a case called California v. Greenwood. The court reasoned that if you leave your trash out on the curb, you're essentially giving up any privacy interest in what's in the bag.
Fox 13 meteorologist Dave Osterberg with your Sky Tower radar forecast.
Okay, at 8:15, it's 83 degrees. Really a lovely start to the day. Things are pretty quiet, although the winds are picking up southeast at about 15 miles per hour. Big picture. Okay, here is Hurricane Adalia. Look at this big feeder band that was attached, just kind of broke off, and it's just drifting north and east, so we'll have to look out for that. But the main storm is still almost due west of Key West, or just to the southwest of Key West, and there is a lot of lightning going on right now in and around the center, a sure sign that this storm is intensifying. When I came in this morning, it was a tropical storm. At 5 a.m., they upgraded it to a hurricane. 8 a.m., it's now an 80-mile-per-hour hurricane. So you can see, obviously, things are progressing exactly as they were supposed to, okay? We've also got the center. Here is the center of the storm off of the Key West radar. And the point to watch for this is we can keep an eye on this now, okay? If this begins to drift off the path we think it's going to take, we're going to know immediately, okay? It's not going to catch you off guard. But one thing is really for certain so far with this storm, because it's been sheared for so long, everything is on the eastern side of this. So even if this storm passes 100 miles to our west, look at all of the activity. It's on the eastern side. So once it gets close enough where it's closest past to us, maybe late tonight, very early tomorrow morning, stands to reason that's when we're going to start to get some of these heavier rain bands with those tropical storm force winds. So the worst of it is going to be overnight tonight. I know it's just a terrible time to bring any type of storm through the area. But again, not a lot of wiggle room with this track, as typically when you start to get down to within 24 hours of landfall, the cone error is much smaller. However, in this case, even if it takes the eastern side of this cone, that makes a big difference for us because it brings us 40 to 50 miles closer than it was supposed to before. Western side of the cone, a little bit less. So we still have to watch and wait as the storm begins to make that more of that northeasterly turn later tonight, sort of pinpoint how far those hurricane force winds or how close they may come to the coast. The futurecast, by later this afternoon, winds will be gusting 25 to 30, especially if you start to get some rain bands. But this won't be till tonight when we really start to pick up some, 50 to 60 mile per hour wind gusts. And that'll be overnight tonight and through tomorrow morning. So we've been saying this all along. At this point, unless it deviates from its track, not a big wind maker for the Tampa Bay area. The water is going to be the problem. Think of you had an intensifying hurricane moving up into some of the warmest waters we've ever seen here in the eastern Gulf of Mexico. Intensification, fast forward speed, it is literally going to pick up this water and just carry it with it. So even though you get a hurricane making landfall in the Big Bend area, the storm surge problems will go all the way down the coast as that water just gets funneled into the West Coast. And a lot of people don't understand what this really means. Normally, okay, let's say your house is this close to the water, which most of it isn't, okay? Graphical purposes. So you've got a normal sea level just kind of sitting like this. Here's your normal high tide. We tell you you've got a 3 or 4 foot storm surge. You see, goes above, 3 foot above. Now 6 foot storm surge, now you're starting to get into some issues where you can see the difference in a 9 foot and higher than that. So take your normal sea level tide, throw in 4 to 7 feet above that, and that's what we're looking at in Tampa Bay. When? Not today, not even this evening, early tomorrow morning with the time of high tide. You've got a high tide, you've got a full moon, the super moon, one of the highest tides of the year, and they come tomorrow. Crystal River, 3:02 in the morning, 2:47 in the afternoon. St. Pete, 3:31 in the morning, 1:54. Both tides tomorrow are going to be the problem, the main problem, which is why evacuation zone A are the ones you want out, because you want to flee from the water, right? And once this storm surge abates, sometime late tomorrow, then it will be obviously much, much better because the winds should be gone by that point. So this is going to be a water issue for the Tampa Bay area in general. Also keep in mind, we got a flood watch in. So you're going to get 3 to 6 inches of rain, and that rain's trying to drain out into the Gulf, drain out into the Bay, but it can't because that south wind's pushing the water back in, and therein lies your problem. So even though you're like, it's a hurricane, we're not in the code. Listen, water is a big issue with this particular storm. One of the bigger issues, especially up in the Big Bend area. We also have a chance for tornadoes. That's always typical with a storm making landfall. On the eastern side of it, you'll typically have a few spin-ups. And all this is going to happen later tonight and very early tomorrow morning. So scattered showers and thunderstorms developing today. Hot and steamy, yep, still going to be a hot day, folks. 92, again, rain, wind, storm surge tomorrow morning. The brunt of it comes through in the dark just before the sun comes up. Then it gradually gets better. As we head into our Labor Day weekend, you're looking at rain chances dropping and the heat returning.
All right, Dave, thank you. Gainesville could feel Adalia's wrath as it makes its way across the state, and thousands of students living on and near the campus of University of Florida. Officials already canceled class for today and tomorrow, and now the university is asking students to stock up on their necessities. Make sure to charge their phones and stay inside and away from the windows as this storm approaches.
Protecting campus and making sure everybody stays safe, those are our top priorities.
I'm thinking I should probably get some water and like batteries and stuff, but I haven't really thought about it, to be honest. I didn't think it would be bad because the last one wasn't bad here, but I have no idea what to expect.
I don't think any of us do. The university says students should have 3 days worth of emergency food and water. They say they do not typically lose power, but students should prepare for that just in case. All right, stay with us. Looking ahead to our next hour of Good Day, Governor DeSantis is expected to give us an update on the preparations that are underway right now ahead of Hurricane Adalia. We will bring that to you live when it happens about 9 a.m. coming up. And up next, protecting animals during this storm, how horse trainers are preparing for Adalia.
Hey, it's Dr. Mike. A new study found that hangovers will really get you in your mid-30s. Now, I don't like to see anyone at any age drink too much, but the older you get, the more likely you're going to suffer after drinking too much. Take plenty of fluids, stay off the highways. I'm Dr. Mike Sirigliano with the Fox Medical Team.
You're in a hockey-related rock band, is that correct?
Not just hockey-related, hockey themed.
All right. Yeah. Well, titles like what?
The referee's daughter. You want to hear it?
Yeah, sure. Can you give us?
She's the referee's daughter, and I oughta. Yeah, I oughta. She skates on holy water like an otter, and I oughta.
Oh,
thank you.
Get him an album.
See, well, you can see why that rocketed to #1 pretty quickly. Yeah.
Hey, I'm Heather Sullivan with ways to save on pet food, which is up 15% over last year. Stores like Amazon, Chewy, Petco, and PetSmart all offer discounts for food delivery subscriptions. Also, check out your local store's reward and loyalty programs. And remember, many food pantries also offer pet food for those in need. I'm Heather Sullivan, and that's some Sullivan Smart Sense.
Planning a move? Make sure you're buying the right kind of insurance. While interstate moving companies are required by law to provide released value protection at no cost, you may want to opt for full value protection. Released value weighs in at about 60 cents per pound, regardless of what the item is. So if your 50-pound big screen TV gets broken, you only get about $30. Full value coverage may cost more, but will give you replacement cost. I'm Steve Noviello. That's my 2 cents. Spend it wisely.
A24, lost animals can be a big concern during a hurricane, and people in horse country near Ocala are taking a unique approach to keeping their animals safe. Jen shows us how they are preparing the animals for the storm. Hi.
Hey, Russell, good morning. The World Equestrian Center in Ocala is ready to protect animals from the hurricane. There's room for 3,000 horses and other animals, and they're offering the safe space for free. Smaller centers are prepping too. Olive Acres Equestrian Center is working on calming its horses as they can feel the changing air pressure. With Hurricane Adalia tracking our way, owner Madison Walrath is moving her horses to a hurricane-proof barn.
I've always had fears of tree limbs puncturing and horses getting lost. We have show jumpers, so they will jump out of the pastures if they're scared.
Madison says she's also stocking up on hay, water, and medication, and if they need to evacuate, her trailers are ready to go. Now, in Citrus County at Shady Lane Farm, they're shaving the phone number into their horse's coat that if any of them get out and are found, then they know who to contact. Brilliant idea.
Have you ever been up that way and seen the World Equestrian Center?
I have not.
It is incredible. And what they're doing is remarkable, taking all those horses in. So it's good. It's good. Horse community loves each other. You know, they take care of each other.
Yeah.
All right. Thanks, Jen.
You're welcome.
Tampa General is in a pretty vulnerable position on Davis Islands at the top of Hillsborough Bay. Monday, crews built what's called an aqua fence to protect the campus against possible storm surge. TGH officials say it can withstand a surge of up to 15 feet above sea level. The hospital is a level 1 trauma center, and this should help it stay open during the storm. Other TGH emergency centers and clinics will close by tonight. More schools are announcing closures ahead of landfall. We've got an update after the break.
WeatherTight Windows only installs PGT custom windows and doors, so all of our windows are energy efficient and hurricane strong. Did I forget anything? Geniuses.
If you are relying on Amazon reviews to help you decide on a purchase, heads up. According to FakeSpot, the following categories are the most likely to have bogus or biased feedback: watches, Christmas decor, watch bands, sweaters, and pullovers. But the top spot for fake reviews? Slippers. FakeSpot says 71% on Amazon have fake reviews, with thousands of products and barely any name brands. I'm Steve Noviello. That's my 2 cents. Spend it wisely.
Hey, it's Dr. Mike. A new study found that even moderate drinking can reduce the volume of your brain. Now, this isn't good and it can lead to a lot of problems. So everything in moderation. That's what my grandfather used to say. If you're going to drink, limit it and don't do it every day. I'm Dr. Mike Sirigliano with the Fox Medical Team.
Planning a move? Make sure you're buying the right kind of insurance. While interstate moving companies are required by law to provide released value protection at no cost, you may want to opt for full value protection. Released value weighs in at about 60 cents per pound, regardless of what the item is. So if your 50-pound big screen TV gets broken, you only get about $30. Full value coverage may cost more, but will give you replacement cost. I'm Steve Noviello. That's my 2 cents. Spend it wisely.
If it's hurricane season, severe weather season, or thunderstorm season, that means it's Sky Tower season.
Track storms using Fox 13's free Sky Tower radar app. Download it now. Get your day started the right way with Good Day Tampa Bay.
Welcome back. It's just about 8:30 now. It's time to take a look at some of this morning's top stories as we track Hurricane Adalia.
All of Tampa Bay and most of Florida is bracing for impacts from this storm. Several airports are closing down ahead of Adalia. St. Pete Clearwater Airport will close at 3 o'clock this afternoon until at least 3 o'clock tomorrow. Tampa International closed its doors at midnight. The biggest concern at TPA is the storm surge. The southern part of the airport is next to the bay, so there's a strong possibility of flooding on the airport property. Airport managers say closing the airport is their last resort.
Most schools in the Bay Area are closed today and tomorrow. That includes Hillsborough, Pinellas, Pasco, Manatee, DeSoto, Citrus, Hernando, and Sarasota schools. Polk County just announced that schools will be open today but closed tomorrow and Thursday. Highlands County schools are open today as well, but after-school activities are canceled and all buildings will be closed tomorrow. Sumter County will have an early release today and all schools will be closed on Wednesday.
Coast Guard preparing for the storm. St. Petersburg units made certain that aircraft and boats were secured so they would be able to respond once the storm passes. They warn you to not try to ride this storm out on a boat. They'll not be able to rescue you until it is safe to do so.
And current projections of the eye of the hurricane passing through Florida's Big Bend.
Places like Hernando County are getting ready for it, too. And our Mariah Harrison is there this morning, checking in with her now. Good morning.
Hey, good morning. I think I just heard you mention how the Coast Guard is getting ready for Hurricane Adalia. Also here in Hernando County, the Fire Rescue Station 6, we're right across the street from the building. You can see the windows are boarded up, protecting that building from any flying debris that could come ashore along with Hurricane Adalia. But it's the storm surge here in Hernando County that officials are very concerned about. Latest projections put that surge at 6 to 9 feet. That's how high the water could get here. As of right now, all evacuation zones along the coast in Hernando, those are zones A, B, and C, are under mandatory evacuation orders. Those started about an hour and a half ago, right at 7 o'clock. And as we pull up that evacuation map, those zones, they really do hug US 19 and also the areas west of US 19 as well. Just to make this very simple for everybody this morning, if you are west of US 19 or know someone that's still west of US 19, today is the day to figure out how to get east of US 19. That is going to be much safer and completely out of all evacuation zones for Hernando. A lot of that area barely above sea level. Storm surge, that rising water will definitely be a problem there. People are taking the storm track very seriously, especially those that remember the no-name storm back in '93.
The no-name storm in 1993 was definitely the worst storm that we've had. At that time, I was a little kid. My dad was like driving boats down the streets out here in Hernando Beach. I have a feeling that we're going to get water. I just don't know how much water, so it's better to be safe, than sorry.
Hoping for the best. We do this each time that we leave, every single time, but this one looks like it's a biggie.
We hope for the best, but we also prepare for the worst. So today will not be about storm watching near the coast in Hernando. Today will be about getting your home or your business ready and then getting out of those dangerous areas. So county shelters, should you need them, should now be open. If you or someone you know doesn't have a place to go just yet, here they are. West Hernando Middle School, that serves as a special needs shelter. DS Parrott Middle School will serve as a pet-friendly shelter if that's what you need. And both Nature Coast High School and Hernando High School are both listed as general population shelters. If you need transportation, the county can help you with that as well. They have a phone number. It is 352-754-4083. And we will be standing by for another update from local officials right around 10 o'clock this morning. But do not wait until 10 o'clock to get your things together and get to much safer ground. Again, that's going to be completely east of US 19.
Okay, Mariah, talk later. Thank you.
So, Dave, I know at 5 o'clock this morning they officially called it a hurricane. Yep. What makes it a hurricane, and what are the wind speeds right now for Adalia?
Well, it went from 70 to 75, and 74 is technically when it just switches the name. I mean, there wasn't a huge difference between that. Now it's starting to strengthen, though. So it's up to 80, and I would expect by 11 o'clock higher than that, because now it's moving into an area where it's likely going to blow up.
Right.
Which is what we've anticipated.
Right.
All that hot water.
So far, knock on wood, whatever.
It's new. Don't hit it too hard.
But knock on wood, seriously, it's done everything it's supposed to do so far, and that's good, and that's what we like. As long as it's got to go somewhere, it's got to do what it's got to do. But if we can know where it's going to go, that's half the battle. So anyway, let's get into it.
Okay.
I want to show you this beautiful quad. We're going to call it the quad picture. Look at all the cameras. Isn't that pretty? It's actually a nice start to the day out there, and it typically is out ahead of a storm like this. So it is pretty quiet. So folks are waking up and Maybe you decided, okay, I'm going to evacuate out of my zone A today. Okay, you got time. You got plenty of time, so just relax. You don't rush, because, again, we're not looking at really the majority of the impact here until beginning at least this evening, maybe not until the overnight hours. Here's the storm itself. There is sort of a feeder band kind of breaking away, just kind of running northward. You see how that's going to start to bump up on shore, so we'll be tracking some showers with that. And then the center of the storm, you can actually see where all that lightning kind of pops up from time to time as it's beginning to, and it's wobbling back and forth. So it's kind of going along the line it's supposed to do as it's drifting toward the north as well. But now that we have the center on radar, this is the Key West radar. We will be able to switch to our radar very soon. We will just be able to track this all the way up the coast. So if it was to deviate west or east from the path that it's projected, we would see that. We would see it immediately and let you know. So if somebody says, oh, it's going east or it's going west, they do wobble. They're going to go like this, back and forth, especially as it starts to rapidly intensify. But again, just sitting off to our west as a major hurricane in the middle of the night, what impact will that have in the Tampa Bay area? Well, storm surge is still our #1 threat, especially in our northern counties. Citrus County, Hernando, and Pasco, you'll have higher storm surge than even Tampa Bay will, and Tampa Bay's is going to run from about 4 to 7 feet. That is what the storm surge is likely to be. As long as it takes the projected path, the wind speeds will stay below hurricane force for most of us, okay? If it was to jog to the eastern side of the cone, which it could, then you get some hurricane force winds on shore. So that's going to be kind of dicey. But I do think tropical storm force winds move in this evening and overnight. You see some of these yellow and these orangish colors. Those are your 50 to 60 mile per hour winds and stronger. Notice how those were kind of along the coast. But even tomorrow afternoon, you're still going to be looking at some tropical storm force wind gusts in our northern counties. So again, it doesn't really start until this evening, but then goes through much of the day tomorrow. 8 to 12 feet, that is the storm surge expected from Chassahowitzka northward up to where the storm makes landfall, just to the right of where it makes landfall. 6 to 9 feet in Pasco County and Hernando County, and then 4 to 7, the storm surge in Tampa Bay. Hurricane warnings continue. But again, our focus at this point is going to be rain coming down, but nowhere for the rain to drain out because you've got a storm surge coming in at 3 o'clock in the morning of 4 to 7 feet. So again, that's our main issue, 4 to 7 foot storm surge in Tampa Bay, 8 to 12 in our northern counties. Tropical storm force winds late today. They're not going to begin in earnest until probably the sun goes down. And if we get hurricane force wind gusts, mainly those would be along the coastal counties. 3 to 6 inches of rain with isolated tornadoes possible. And the further inland you go, the less of an impact you're going to have overall. So get what you got to get done today. You got to do some errands. I know some people, I got to go to the doctor, got to go to the you're fine. Get it done. Relax. 92 degrees. But then this evening, be where you're going to be because the weather's going to go downhill pretty quickly overnight tonight and early tomorrow morning with storm surge being our #1 impact.
Dave, getting ready for all of that. Thank you. 8:38 is our time, but good news on the roadways. Here's a downtown look at the downtown interchange where things are moving along fine here. No problems to report there. And 75 just at Morris Bridge, also in good shape there. Some incidents out there, though. Polk Parkway still seeing that accident on that westbound side at Florida Avenue. You can see delays back to 98 there, all the way up to another accident on Broad Street at Powell Road. This through Spring Hill on 41. You can see that accident there. And then US 19, alternative 19 rather, a crash near Curlew Place taking out a lane. But here's a look at your toll routes, all checking in at normal speeds right now. But speaking of toll routes, and good news for you, for drivers to help with these evacuation orders, tolls across Florida's west coast are now suspended. Fees are waived until next Tuesday, September 5th. The following roads are included in Hillsborough County: the I-4 connector, the Selman Expressway, the Vets Expressway, and the Suncoast Parkway, which extends through Citrus, Hernando, and Pasco counties. For Lake and Sumter counties and parts of Orange County, tolls have been suspended on the Turnpike Main Line, and in Pinellas County, the Bayway and Sunshine Skyway Bridge too. Remember, if you evacuate to higher ground, travel tens of miles, not hundreds. Laura?
You don't have to go far. There's higher ground and inland. All right, Elise, thank you. Looking ahead to 9, we're waiting an update from Governor DeSantis as Hurricane Adalia approaches Florida. We'll bring that to you live coming up at the top of the hour. And then later at 9, big storms can trigger big stress and anxiety for many. How the Crisis Center of Tampa Bay is helping people struggling to cope. But first, projections show places like Cedar Key and Levy County could be right in Adalia's path. We're going to show you how they're getting ready.
I'm Mark Wilson. I grew up in St. Pete, and I love living here. Local news hits home for me, and I know news about the community where you live is important to you, too. So count on us to keep you informed about everything that's happening in Fox 13 country.
Is smoking weed against the law? Although half the states in the country have legalized lighting up in some way, it is still against federal law. Katie Barlow here. Marijuana is classified as a Schedule I drug under federal law. That's the same as heroin and LSD, and even higher than fentanyl and meth. President Biden says he's looking into it, but you can still face federal charges. So be careful where you light up, and remember, crossing state lines with weed is a no-no.
Before you buy a used car, you should be sure to check the VIN history. You can do it for free. Here's how. The National Insurance Crime Bureau will tell you if the vehicle has ever been stolen, salvaged, or declared a total loss. Vehicle History will share data on selling history, cost to own, and recalls. And finally, iSeeCars.com will look at more than 200 data points. If you are working with the dealership, they should also present the vehicle's Carfax for free. I'm Steve Noviello. That's my 2 cents. Spend it wisely.
From dangerous lightning to damaging winds and flooding rain, this time of year, that means it's Sky Tower season.
Track storms using Fox 13's free Sky Tower radar app. Download it now. You're watching Good Day Tampa Bay.
Welcome back. We continue our Hurricane Adalia coverage now in Pasco County.
A Pasco native, Charlie Belcher, is up there right now as people prepare for the storm. Good morning, Charlie.
Yes, indeed. I am inside the Emergency Operations Center. They have activated here. They will stay active through the passing of this storm. And that just means that it's a room full of emergency management officials and representing utilities, emergency crews, EMS, police, fire, all of that sort of thing. Representatives all here, making sure they have the up-to-date information. Look, evacuations for everyone in Zone A, or if you are in a mobile home or an RV anywhere in the county, you got to get out of those areas that are going to flood, because that's really what emergency managers are worried about. They're worried about the water.
There will be flooding tonight. We are going to see a storm surge. We are going to get some very heavy rains, up to 10 inches of rain. So we're going to see localized inland flooding also. Don't drive in water. Turn around, don't drown. And make sure that you run from the water and you hide from the wind. The winds are going to pick up severely tonight. We're going to see anywhere between 60 and 80 miles an hour sustained winds on the coast. And we have the potential to see 60 to 80 miles an hour inland. So make sure you're inside, secured, and don't wander out when the storm passes, because we do have a second surge coming after our storm leaves.
It's so tough to as from an emergency management standpoint, I would assume it's tough to truly prepare and know what is going to happen, but I assume you are doing that still from a power standpoint, from a flooding standpoint.
Yes, we keep in touch with our local power companies, with Lacucci and Duke. They work very well with us. They have prepared their sites. We do have sites that are on the coast that will get water on them tonight, but they're very proactive. They will turn power off prior to the flooding coming in.
One of the other problems of having such a diverse county is we feel the effects differently, right? We're going to get sandblasted on the coast, right? We're going to hit wind and debris falling within the interior parts of our county, and oftentimes it affects us in different ways. And so the flexibility of this team to be able to respond to that is absolutely awesome and amazing. But at the same time, we're in a recovery operation, so we just need folks to, as Andy said, hide from the wind and run from the water. We just take it seriously right now.
That's the message for Pasco County this morning. Take this seriously, especially if you're in the low-lying areas that are prone to flood, especially if you're in that evacuation zone A. Shelters are open throughout the county. Sandbag locations are open throughout the county. Instead of going through all those lists, I'm going to send you to the very best resource. It is mypasco.net. And there is a concern here, or certainly a point of emphasis that they recognize here in Pasco County, that a lot of people have recently moved to Pasco County, especially since the pandemic. We've had a lot of people from up north or all over the country relocate to Florida. Pasco County's got some pretty good property values out there. So we've seen Pasco County really see a boom over the last couple of years. That means we've got a lot of people living in Pasco that may not have been through anything like this before. Officials understand you're a little anxious right now, a little nervous right now, but if you go to mypasco.net, literally everything is there for you. If you do want to try to get to a shelter, it'll tell you where they are and what you need to take with you. If you do want to try to get a sandbag and try to secure your home as best you can, it'll tell you that. And if you're not even sure what evacuation zone you might be in, there's an interactive map there where you literally put in your address and it'll tell you everything you need to know. And Laura Moody, something interesting that they keep talking about here is that second surge. So even after, and let Dave Osterberg and our professionals, meteorologists, maybe explain this further. I'm not even going to try. But basically, after that storm moves through and even the sun comes out and everybody thinks, okay, phew, we may have dodged it. Those in low-lying areas, or the Anclote River or these other places, they're going to see maybe a secondary surge, they think, like tomorrow afternoon. That could also cause problems, even though the biggest part of the storm may be past us. So not all clear until you hear an official all clear, and that's going to be a little bit.
Absolutely. And Charlie, I know we heard you earlier talk about the app and how easy that is to use.
It is, and that basically takes you to that mypasco.net. There is also a MyPasco app that you can get from Android or Apple, but it's just a mobile version of that website, mypasco.net. If you live in Pasco County, get yourself familiar with that website, mypasco.net.
Okay. All right, Charlie, thank you.
Okay. It's 8:49 right now, and time's running out, stock up, and a lot of people in Hillsborough saw supplies already running low.
Sandbagging sites throughout the county and the city of Tampa opened back up this morning. Sandbagging sites are going to be open until noon. Sites in Tampa opened up at 8 a.m. Some of the sites had to close yesterday, though, after running out of supplies. Some of the residents were also already struggling to find gas around Tampa, and then water was flying off the shelves at some of the Tampa stores.
Right now, the track shows Adalia making landfall in Florida near Cedar Key. It's in the Big Bend area up in Levy County. Storm surge could be over 10 feet, which is why mandatory evacuation orders are now in place. Fox's David Martin is in Cedar Key this morning.
We are in Cedar Key, Florida, what is expected to be potentially ground zero for Hurricane Adalia. It is my honor to introduce you to one of the residents here at Cedar Key, Jeff Wigson. Jeff, good morning to you.
Good morning. How you doing?
And who is sitting in front of me?
This is Blue.
Blue. And we are sitting in what exactly?
A golf cart.
A golf cart, which many residents use around here.
It's the way to go.
It's the way to go. Let's put Paolo, the cameraman, in the front seat. I'd like you to give us a little tour of some of the main areas here.
Sure.
As we take a look at what's happening 24 hours in advance of what might be landfall here. Yep. So this is what street?
2nd Street.
2nd Street, okay. Yep. I see a lot of buildings, if they're not abandoned, they're already boarded up. Some got sandbags. That's pretty common fare around here, right?
Yeah, people are ready.
Because the last major storm to affect this island was what?
Hermine, about 6 years ago.
Yeah, and the storm surge from Hermine was about 6 feet?
6 feet, yes.
And it brought in a lot of mud, a lot of water.
That flooded all of this area with 3 or 4 feet of water.
Yeah. How long did that get flooded for? Do you recall?
I wasn't here for that one.
Yeah, but it comes in and comes out pretty quickly,
yeah,
but it leaves a mess, unfortunately.
Yes, it does, yeah.
All right, now we are heading over beyond the stop sign here, beyond 1st Street, across the bridge that was recently completed.
Yep, they finished this about a year ago, and that takes us down to Dock Street.
What happens around this area when the storm comes in? Because this island is very hilly, right? There are parts that are super high.
Up by the community center, it's about 25 feet, so there's a lot of safe spots.
Safe spots, but yet 90% of the island, we're predicting at this point, already evacuated.
Yes.
Smartly so.
Yeah.
Because when the storm comes, there may not be power here for several days.
No,
and how do
use it for a week or so, maybe?
Yeah, right. And how are you preparing at your house?
Just supplies, mainly.
Uh-huh. Very good. Now, this is the famous Dock Street, where if you come down here for a staycation, no doubt you've eaten or have had a cocktail at night as the sun sets. It's a gorgeous area of the island. A lot of souvenir shops, too. What have they done here?
Well, when Hermine came through here, there was about 3 feet of water in Dock Street as well. So, and that's, like I said, a 6-foot surge. So if we get an 8 or 10-foot storm surge, it's going to be pretty bad.
I tell you, the locals around here, that's what the concern is, because it's double the amount of Hermine, potentially, and they're not taking chances.
Just about as high as that blue railing on Big Deck.
Okay. But you're staying put.
Yes.
How come you're not evacuating?
Well, I want to be here for the cleanup and help my friends and help the businesses reopen.
Good for you. A lot of looky-loos, a lot of media at the moment, but according to the Sheriff's Department, the Levy County Sheriff's Department, nothing major happening this morning. That's a good sign.
Yes, it
is.
is.
Sun just came up on our east there, and not the same scene we're going to have tomorrow morning, no doubt. So, Jeff, I appreciate the tour on your golf cart. We encourage you to stay very safe. Let's give Blue one last...
Blue, come here.
Hello? Because what a good pup you are. Blue is how old?
Blue is 2.
2. What kind of dog?
Border Collie.
Oh, man. Good
girl,
partner. Huh? Yeah. Jeff, thanks for your time this morning.
Thank you.
Okay, I'm going to send it back to you all in the studio.
You know, Corey Beckman just did a piece on Cedar Key on our Old Florida series. I hope it fares well, because it's a beautiful, beautiful place. 8:52 right now, still ahead, preparing for the power outages. If you're new to Florida or having a generator, there is a lot to keep in mind. Next, experts tell us why it's so important to test your generator before the storm hits.
Hey, I'm Heather Sullivan with Sullivan Smart Sense to save you some money on groceries. Use the self-checkout rather than the cashier. A study by IHL Consulting found it reduces impulse buys 32% among women and 17% among men. There's less merchandise at the register, and you pay more attention to that total.
Feeling a little hot at home? Stop cranking down your AC. That's right, dramatic dips in your settings don't actually cool your house any faster. This isn't a faucet. More pressure doesn't mean more production. Instead, the added pressure strains your air conditioner and can lead to equipment failures because the system will keep running as it tries to cool your home past its capacity. I'm Steve Noviello. That's my 2 cents. Spend it wisely.
it's Dr. Mike. The Centers for Disease Control have come out with new numbers indicating that more and more people are seeking mental health treatment. Now, this may be bad news, but it's good because people are getting help. And now with telehealth, you can get an appointment. So do the right thing. If you're suffering, get help. I'm Dr. Mike Sirigliano with the Fox Medical Team.
Can the police go through your trash without a warrant? Well, the short answer is yes, depending on where you put it. They can't just waltz into your home without a warrant and start digging. That violates the Fourth Amendment's protection against unreasonable search and seizure. But the Supreme Court made a trash exception in a case called California v. Greenwood. The court reasoned that if you leave your trash out on the curb, you're essentially giving up any privacy interest in what's in the bag.
Watching Good Day Tampa Bay.
Welcome back. It's 5 minutes away from the top of the hour now, and chances are you have a lot on your to-do list today. Before Hurricane Adalia is expected to hit the Bay Area, testing your portable generators should also be on that list. And the experts tell us that it's important for you to test out your generator. Let's get over to him right now.
Laura, good morning to you. Yeah, it is important to test out your generator, and you want to do it as soon as possible. That's because when they go unused for too long, oxygen gets into the fuel and that damages the machine. According to Sanford Mowers mechanics, the mechanics are busy repairing generators right now. Some companies really probably not going to have time to fix them by the time the storm gets here. That's because most people wait until the last minute to test out their portable generator.
Some people have their generators sitting for 2 or 3 years, and that's just not okay. It's not going to want to run.
As a reminder, use those portable generators safely. Not inside your home. You need to have it outside. Generators release carbon monoxide. That can make you sick. Could even kill you. It's because you can fall ill and you can't even smell it. It's an odorless, colorless gas. And finally, wait until the weather clears up to turn it on and put the generator 20 feet or more away from your house and keep it dry and well maintained. Laura.
Walter, thank you.
You bet.
We'll be right back.
Your loved one has passed, so who does their debt pass to? As a general rule, the estate is responsible, meaning if you stand to inherit money, the estate must first pay off all debts. Secured debt that can't be paid off, like a mortgage or a car note, can be subject to repossession. Medical debt won't be passed to your kids, but may become the responsibility of your spouse. Federal student loans, on the other hand, will most likely be forgiven if a family member applies on behalf of the deceased. I'm Steve Noviello. That's my 2 cents. Spend it wisely.
Can the police go through your trash without a warrant? Well, the short answer is yes, depending on where you put it. They can't just waltz into your home without a warrant and start digging. That violates the Fourth Amendment's protection against unreasonable search and seizure. But the Supreme Court made a trash exception in a case called California v. Greenwood. The court reasoned that if you leave your trash out on the curb, you're essentially giving up any privacy interest in what's in the bag.
Hey, I'm Heather Sullivan with ways to save on pet food, which is up 15% over last year. Stores like Amazon, Chewy, Petco, and PetSmart all offer discounts for food delivery subscriptions. Also, check out your local store's reward and loyalty programs. And remember, many food pantries also offer pet food for those in need. I'm Heather Sullivan, and that's some Sullivan Smart Sense.
Hey, it's Dr. Mike. Listen, new guidelines advise that everyone with average risk of colon cancer get a screening at age 45. Now, a lot of people are nervous about this kind of thing, but it saves lives. Make sure that you get that test at age 45 or earlier if you have some high risks. I'm Dr. Mike Sirigliano with the Fox Medical Team.
Get your day started the right way with Good Day Tampa Bay.
Right now at 9, the final countdown. Adalia is now a hurricane, and the Bay Area is taking every precaution it can as we wait to see exactly where that eye wall will make landfall. And good Tuesday morning. I'm Laura Moody.
And I'm Russell Rhodes. Governor DeSantis is speaking. Dave, can you wait?
Yep, absolutely.
We're going straight to Governor DeSantis right now.
Schofield with the U.S. Coast Guard as of 8 a.m. this morning. Hurricane Adalia is located approximately 130 miles south of the Dry Tortugas with winds in excess of 80 miles per hour. It is officially a hurricane. The storm is forecast to make landfall along Florida's Big Bend tomorrow morning as a major hurricane. The National Hurricane Center has issued a hurricane warning for the Gulf Coast from Sarasota County up through Franklin County and the Panhandle, and storm surge watches are also in effect in those areas. The National Hurricane Center advisory includes that if this storm hits at high tide, storm surge could reach 8 to 12 feet in some areas. And so that would be life-threatening storm surge. I know all those areas are under evacuation notices in the low-lying and coastal areas. You run from the water and you hide from the wind. If you're there in that storm surge, you're putting your life in jeopardy when it gets to be that high. So if you are giving those orders, please heed those orders. You do not have to leave the state. You don't have to drive hundreds of miles. You have to get to higher ground in a safe structure. You can ride the storm out there, then go back to your home once the storm passes. There are evacuation orders for coastal and low-lying areas in 22 different counties along the Gulf Coast, as well as throughout North Florida. To make these evacuations easier on families, we have directed FDOT to waive tolls in Citrus, Hernando, Hillsborough Lake, Pasco, Pinellas, and Sumter counties, and that started at 0400 this morning. For those evacuating, Visit Florida has activated the emergency accommodation module with Expedia. So if you want to find a hotel, you can go to expedia.com/Florida. We are continue to coordinate with the power companies across the state. We had, as of this morning, over 25,000 linemen stationed, more on the way. So you will have most likely between 30 and 40,000 linemen when the storm hits will be in the state of Florida, and then they will immediately move to commence power restoration efforts. We've also been working with counties to make sure that they know that we have resources ready to deploy, and we want to be helpful to support their efforts. So we have received more than 450 active missions that we are coordinating. Every resource request we receive has either been filled or will be filled by the end of this morning. We do have 420,000 gallons of fuel staged and ready to deploy, and additional assets are expected over the next few days, and the gas stations that will be prioritized will be the ones along the heavy evacuation routes. We have 8 urban search and rescue teams activated and over 580 search and rescue personnel ready right now. We have delivered 431 pallets of water, 303 pallets of MREs, and over 1,200 tarps to communities that may be impacted. We've got many more gallons of water and a lot of MREs that are ready to be deployed as needed. There are over 20 shelters open, and additional 20 special needs shelters are mobilizing or on standby throughout the state of Florida. We have 5,500 National Guardsmen that have been activated. We have deployed 247 Starlinks with another 529 staged in Central Florida, and they will be deployed to impacted areas as the needs arise. 42 school districts have announced school closures over the next 2 days, along with 16 state colleges and 7 Florida universities. Our Florida Department of Transportation has more than 600 personnel, including over 220 cut and toss crew members, with more than 400 pieces of heavy equipment and trucks strategically placed across the state to prepare for cut and toss operations post-storm. And if you look at that track of where it's going now, you are going to see a lot of debris. There's a lot of trees along that track, and it is going to knock down trees. It's going to knock down power lines, and there's going to be a need to be able to clear a lot of the right-of-ways. Florida Department of Transportation has about 1,100 generators en route to impacted areas, and they're going to use that to get the traffic signals up and running as soon as possible when the storm passes. As wind becomes stronger later today and into the night, FDOT will be coordinating with FHP and local law enforcement to close bridges once the speeds reach in excess of 40 miles an hour. Road rangers will be concentrated along evacuation routes to help motorists. We have also called up 33 ambulance strike teams with over 200 ambulances that are ready to surge into any impacted area. We've also requested an additional 6 strike teams through our emergency management assistance compact with other states. So this storm is going to hit tomorrow morning. You will start certainly seeing effects of this in different parts of the state later on today. You still have time this morning to be able to make your final preparations. If you are in one of those areas that's in line for some of the major storm surge and you're told to evacuate, you have time to do that. But you got to do that now. You don't have to go hundreds of miles. You can go to a shelter in a different part of your county, go to a friend's house in an area that is not going to be susceptible to the storm surge, hotel. All these things are good to do. And you should do that and heed. This is going to be a major hurricane, likely a Category 3, and where it's scheduled to hit along this big bend, and we've not really had a hurricane strike this area for a long, long time. I think you got to go back to the 1800s before you would see a path like this. And so those coastal areas there, have not necessarily been through this before, and I think that being safe is the appropriate thing, and erring on the side of caution is the appropriate thing. We will, of course, be mindful of any changes in the path of this storm. I think everybody on that Gulf Coast from Tampa Bay up until Northwest Florida must remain vigilant. They have nudged the track a little bit further west over the last 24 hours. I mean, we were looking at potentially Levy County, I think yesterday and today. Now we're looking more at a Taylor County. There's some models that say it may go even further west. So places like Tallahassee, where we are today, certainly you could end up having it hit Tallahassee directly in some of the surrounding areas. So everyone just remain vigilant, continue to watch and listen to the local orders that you receive from your local emergency management personnel. I want to thank everybody. We've been in contact with people from most of these counties over the last few days. Everybody's working hard. Everybody understands that that this is a significant event, and they're remaining calm, cool, and collected. But they're executing, and that's what we need to continue to do. I want to thank everybody here at the state of Florida for working hard. They've been working now round the clock and getting the resources where they need to be as those requests come in. And of course, once the storm passes, we're going to immediately go to commence any type of rescue operations, and of course the power restoration will be a big priority. Go to floridadisaster.org/get-a-plan if you have any questions. Again, you still have some time this morning and into the early afternoon, but as we get throughout this day, you are going to start to see rain and wind pick up, particularly the further south you are in the state of Florida. And by the time we get to the end of tonight, you're going to see some nasty weather. So just be warned about that, and do what you need to do right now to be able to keep yourself and your family safe. Okay, we're going to hear from Kevin Guthrie, Division of Emergency Management.
All right, we have just been listening into Governor DeSantis give this update. 8 to 12-foot storm surge is what he's saying. He's activated the Coast Guard. More than 5,000 those members have been activated now, so they're on standby. It sounds like everybody is ready and prepared for whatever this brings.
And he brought up something that I think is important to a lot of people. If you're evacuating and you need a hotel, and there are a lot of hotels who are going to be giving some special rates to people who need to evacuate. If you go to Expedia.com/Florida, you may be able to find a better rate on a hotel for you as you're having to evacuate. All right. I'm sorry, do what? All right, we're going to take a break, and then Dave's got the weather coming up.
I'm Heather Sullivan with a tip to get free digital magazine subscriptions. You can go to a site called Value Mags. You can sign up for a free account. You do have to agree to accept marketing messages in your inbox or take some surveys, but you can get free digital subscriptions to magazines like Elle Decor, Cosmo, or Popular Science. So check it out, and that's some Sullivan Smart Sense.
Planning a move? Make sure you're buying the right kind of insurance. While interstate moving companies are required by law to provide released value protection at no cost, you may want to opt for full value protection. Released value weighs in at about 60 cents per pound regardless of what the item is. So if your 50-pound big screen TV gets broken, you only get about 30 bucks. Full value coverage may cost more, but will give you replacement cost. I'm Steve Noviello. That's my 2 cents. Spend it wisely.
Hey, it's Dr. Mike. New data suggests that many women might benefit from getting screened for breast cancer with mammograms earlier on. I'm talking about age 40. This is especially true in African American women who have a higher risk of dying from breast cancer. So get your mammogram and make sure you do the right thing. I'm Dr. Mike Sirigliano with the Fox Medical Team.
Can police search your car without a warrant? Well, the short answer is yes. The Fourth Amendment protects us from unreasonable search and seizure. The Supreme Court says a search is unreasonable without a warrant supported by probable cause. But there is an automobile exception. Why? Well, we have less of an expectation of privacy in the car, and there are public safety concerns on shared road. Police can search your car without a warrant if you give permission or if you've been arrested.
You're watching Good Day Tampa Bay.
The arrival of Adalia has forced Kennedy Space Center to take some extra precautions ahead of the storm. They postponed an Atlas V launch that was supposed to happen around 8:30 this morning. The ULA rocket is carrying a silent Barker. That's a satellite for the Department of Defense and the U.S. Space Force. Satellite will help the military search and track objects from space. No word yet on a new launch date. But taking precautions because I have a feeling that satellite is very important very expensive.
Well, we fly through hurricanes now. Why can't they launch the rocket? I'm kidding. Look behind you. You see how dark that sky is. We got a heavy rain band offshore. That particular band, I think, is going to miss us. I'm going to show it to you. Okay. But in general, everything has been on track so far. It became a hurricane this morning, check. It's intensifying, check. It's moving north, check. So its forward speed is moving quicker. That's actually not necessarily a bad thing. It's going to give it less time. But this was also factored into all of this intensification, is this forward speed as well. Symmetrically, it does look a little bit better than it did yesterday. However, you see the west side of it is still be kind of eaten up a little bit. So you see how everything's toward the east side of the storm, which of course we are on the eastern side of this storm. So really most of the weather is over here. And as it moves northward, we're going to have to contend with it. When? Not until later today. Look at this huge rain band. That's what you're seeing offshore. But notice the direction, how it's just running parallel to the coast. So this one is not going to be an issue. But however, as it all starts to lift northward, we get more and more of these rain bands, then they will start to interact with the coast. But again, you're not looking until later this afternoon. is the center of the strengthening hurricane. We got it on radar. Now, this is the Key West radar. Then we can transition to our radar and follow it all the way up into the Big Bend area. So it's about 288 miles as the crow flies southwest of Pinellas County. And it started to clear the eye out. Again, another sign that it continues to strengthen here. Winds are up to 80 miles per hour. It is forecast to become a major hurricane, and very quickly as well. This would be a huge rapid intensification if this is what it does. And you're talking about a Category 3 storm off to our west, out into the Gulf of Mexico, with all the weather on the eastern side of it. So you see where things are going to start to play in for us, even though we're not in the cone per se. You're going to take an entire huge wall of water and just carry it up the west coast of Florida all the way until it funnels into the Big Bend area. So that, again, is where our immediate problem, I think it's going to be the storm surge. A lot of water being pulled up and to the north. It's also going to be raining. Here's 1 o'clock in the morning. You see the rain coming down. This is when you're going to have those sustained tropical storm force winds. Would be past midnight, early in the morning. The water is trying to drain out into Tampa Bay, drain out into the Gulf of Mexico, drain out into some of those rivers. But the winds are also going to be starting to come in from the south and the southwest, and that's going to be pushing the water in. Water's trying to drain out, water's trying to push in. Therein lies your problem, and that's when we're going to start to have to deal with that storm surge flooding and freshwater flooding in general. 4 to 7 feet of that storm surge in Tampa Bay by 8 o'clock tomorrow morning, making landfall maybe just northwest of, say, Cedar Key or so. Again, if it follows the right track, but we're still going to be getting some of these feeder bands, and some of that rain and that water will continue even Wednesday afternoon. The high tide on Wednesday afternoon is going to be very, very high, and there will be some flooding. So I don't want people to think that once this storm gets past our latitude that it's over. Because to be honest with you, that's really when the problems may start to begin, because of that south wind and pouring all that water in. So multifaceted storm, but for us, I feel like our major problem at this point would be storm surge. Tracks to the east of the cone, you add some wind into that as well. So 4 to 7 feet for the storm surge in Tampa. You get to Hernando County, Pasco County, a little higher, 6 to 9 feet for the storm surge. And then, unfortunately, 8 to 12 feet, the storm surges are getting up into the Big Bend, and, of course, where it's going to make landfall. There are a couple of things factored into this. The way the coastline is shaped adds into a larger storm surge, right? A strengthening hurricane, a rapidly intensifying hurricane, a relatively fast-moving forward hurricane. This is all going to add into the storm surge. And to top it all off, our tides are elevated due to the full moon, that super moon you've been hearing about. So you add all that in together, and that's why these storm surge forecasts are so high. So these high tides are incredibly important. Listen, the one tomorrow morning, early, and then the one tomorrow afternoon. So if you're along the coast, I've got 2 high tides of importance for you, both tomorrow, one while you're sleeping or early in the morning, one in the afternoon. Overall, 4 to 7 feet for the storm surge in Tampa Bay, late tonight, early tomorrow morning. This is not going to be a Tuesday during the day event around here, okay? For the most part, 8 to 12 feet to the north. We saw that. Tropical storm winds will be late on Tuesday. Right now, hurricane force winds have kind of just started to generate within this storm, so we don't know how far they're going to go out once they get near us. But at this point, hurricane force wind gusts mainly just at the coast if we get them, and then 3 to 6 inches of rain with some isolated tornadoes possible as well. And again, Elise, all of this is going to be tonight and tomorrow morning, so it's going to come in pretty quick tonight and be out of here tomorrow. So at least during the daylight today, you got to get stuff done, you can get stuff done.
Yeah, well, that's at least some good news there to prepare for that. Thanks, Dave. 9:19 is our time. We'll take you out to the roadways where things are moving along fine. There was an accident here on 275 northbound at Fletcher Avenue, taking out a lane. As you can see, it is clear. 75 just north of Sun City Center, moving along fine. And downtown Tampa is in good shape. No problems to report there. Pinellas County, a lot of green on the screen there. And your Sunshine Skyway Bridge looking good. And just a reminder that all tolls are suspended. So that's good news there through the storm at least. Tampa Majors, 75, the Vets, and 275, all checking in at normal speeds. Laura?
All right, Elise, thank you. There are plenty of resources available to keep you informed during the storm, and Fox 13 has you covered on air and online. But it might be tough to stay updated if your phone battery is dead. AT&T has some tips on how to stay connected, especially if the power goes out. Jen's here now to tell you what you can do now to prepare for that. Good morning.
Hey, Laura, good morning. You know, it sounds simple, but with all the other preparations being done, it might not be top of mind, but staying connected during the storm is so important. First, you can download your local news app before the storm. If power is interrupted, you can use your mobile device to access local weather reports and stay informed. Next, make sure you save device battery life. Extend your device's battery life by setting it in power save mode. You can turn off your Bluetooth and your Wi-Fi. Also, clear out any apps that may be running in the background. Also, plan ahead to keep devices charged. A car charger or a backup battery pack can be helpful. Also, try texting instead of calling. Texting requires fewer network resources, and the information may go through faster if the network is congested due to the high call volume. Also, make sure you keep flashlights handy in case you do lose power. If there are fallen or sagging power lines near your home, stay away. Do not touch them. Do not walk on them. FPL gearing up too for the storm. They're mobilizing their restoration workforce and pre-positioning crews and equipment to speed up restoration. They're also trimming trees to try and prevent any power outages. And TECO has spent $180 million to strengthen their system, replacing thousands of power poles and improving 500 of them. They too trim trees away for about 3,000 lines. Now, if you do lose power and you want to get updates from us, our news will be aired over several local radio stations. That includes Hot 101.5, 102.5 The Bone, and 97X. And another piece of advice, decide on one point of contact to communicate with, and then tell people, your friends, your family, your loved ones, to get updates from that person so you're not having to make, a dozen different calls. And make sure your friends and family understand that you will likely lose connection.
All right. We're ready.
Yeah, we are.
Thank you, Jen.
You're welcome.
Still ahead, big changes to public transportation amid the storm. We'll have more information on that and information on sandbags, too. That's coming up in just a few minutes.
You're in a hockey-related rock band, is that correct?
Not just hockey-related, hockey themed.
All right.
Yeah.
Well, titles like what?
The referee's daughter. You want to hear it?
Yeah, sure. Can you give us?
She's the referee's daughter, and I oughta. Yeah, I oughta. She skates on holy water like an otter, and I oughta.
Oh,
Thank you.
get him an album.
See, well, you can see why that rocketed to #1 pretty quickly. Yeah.
It's Dr. Mike. Listen, folks, yet another study showing the health benefits of drinking coffee. This study showed a reduction in type 2 diabetes. How does that work? It reduces insulin resistance by decreasing inflammation. So, drink your coffee, enjoy it, and you will live a long, healthy life. I'm Dr. Mike Cirigliano with the Fox Medical Team.
Hey, I'm Heather Sullivan. I've got a tip to help you cut down that credit card interest. Use your reward points to reduce your balance. 23% of reward card holders haven't redeemed their rewards in the past year. Some of those cards also offer discounts on items that you already buy. I'm Heather Sullivan, and that's some Sullivan Smart Sense.
Your loved one has passed, so who does their debt pass to? As a general rule, the estate is responsible, meaning if you stand to inherit money, the estate must first pay off all debts. Secured debt that can't be paid off, like a mortgage or a car note, can be subject to repossession. Medical debt won't be passed to your kids, but may become the responsibility of your spouse. Federal student loans, on the other hand, will most likely be forgiven if a family member applies on behalf of the deceased. I'm Steve Noviello. That's my 2 cents. Spend it wisely.
A judge has set a date for former President Donald Trump and his federal case on charges of election interference.
It's been scheduled for March 4th of next year.
This is going to be the day before Super Tuesday, which is when a dozen states are going to hold their primaries. And Trump responded on social media, writing, quote, "Today, a biased Trump-hating judge gave me only a 2-month extension, just what our corrupt government wanted. Super Tuesday. I will appeal." According to the survey by Emerson College, polling, Trump's support dropped 6 points after he skipped the first Republican debate. However, it's still showing him leading the GOP by 38 percentage points.
Interest rates on student loans will resume this Friday after a 3.5-year pause during the pandemic. President Biden is launching the Fresh Start program for borrowers in default. Those who enroll in the program are able to wipe the default off their credit reports and start new with an income-driven repayment plan. The Biden administration expects it to help around 7.5 million borrowers.
The Spanish Soccer Federation is asking their president, Luis Rubiales, to resign after he unconsensually kissed a player. Now Rubiales' mother is protesting this by starting a hunger strike in defense of her son. She locked herself into the Divina Pastor Church with her sister-in-law early on Monday morning. She is calling the criticism of her son a bloodthirsty witch hunt.
A new fear unlocked. A woman in Australia gets a live worm removed from her brain, marking it the first human case of this parasitic infection. Doctors at the Canberra Hospital found a 3-inch ringworm in the woman's brain in June of 2022 after an MRI scan. Researchers say the woman likely caught the roundworm normally found in carpet pythons after she collected Warogel greens, which she used for cooking. Right now, she's still being monitored by specialists.
Wow.
Well, add that to our list. All right. It's getting longer. The list gets longer. All right, much more to come in the next half hour, including how to cope with all this anxiety and stress that comes with preparing for a hurricane.
Yeah, the Crisis Center has a few tips for you and your kids. Plus, Dave's going to have another check on Adalia coming up right after the break.
Oh, my goodness! Is this for real? I pray for these moments. Every touchdown from every game, every Sunday afternoon.
Largest comeback in NFL history.
If you are relying on Amazon reviews to help you decide on a purchase, heads up. According to FakeSpot, the following categories are the most likely to have bogus or biased feedback: watches, Christmas decor, watch bands, sweaters, and pullovers. But the top spot for fake reviews? Slippers. FakeSpot says 71% on Amazon have fake reviews, with thousands of products and barely any name brands. I'm Steve Noviello. That's my 2 cents. Spend it wisely.
Hey, it's Dr. Mike. A new study found that hangovers will really get you in your mid-30s. Now, I don't like to see anyone at any age drink too much, but the older you get, the more likely you're going to suffer after drinking too much. Take plenty of fluids, stay off the highways. I'm Dr. Mike Sirigliano with the Fox Medical Team.
Hi, I'm Heather Sullivan with Sullivan Smart Sense to save you some money on travel. Before you book your next flight, check out the new Airline Customer Service Dashboard. It's on transportation.gov. If your flight is delayed or canceled, it'll show you which airlines will rebook you for free, plus which airlines will offer free hotel or meal vouchers if you get stuck. That's a big savings.
I'm Walter Allen. Even before the sun comes up, Good Day is here to help you start your day. We know that local news, especially news about your community, is important to you. You can count on us to keep you informed about everything that's happening in Fox 13 country.
Get your day started the right way with Good Day Tampa Bay.
9:30 this Tuesday morning, and pretty quiet out there. But I want to show you the clouds on the increase. And, of course, especially with our Clearwater Beach camera, you can see those dark, dark clouds in the distance. There's a band of rain out there. It's running parallel to the coast, so it's not going to move onshore, but you can kind of see it just sitting there as we just wait for this storm, which has really done what it's supposed to do. It became a hurricane at 5 a.m. this morning. It is intensifying. They found winds of 80 miles per hour as they're flying around inside the storm. It's still not perfectly symmetrical, but at the same time, it is beginning to intensify, moving over some of the warmest waters we've ever had in the southeastern Gulf. And it is forecast to undergo rapid intensification and become a major hurricane as it passes to the west of the Tampa Bay area later tonight. There's that feeder band I was telling you about. My goodness, look at all that rain. That's going to stay offshore, but obviously as the storm gets closer, you're going to see more and more of those, and they'll start to move onshore. So it's about 280 miles or so southwest of Pinellas County. You can obviously see the center of that storm. We've got the eye on radar, so it can't move without us noticing where it is, and right on cue as well. Top left-hand corner of your screen, there's that trough coming down to the Gulf to pick that up and start to kind of steer it more toward the north and the east. So right now, it's behaving itself and staying off to the west. We'll watch it real closely because, again, still, even if it comes on the eastern side of that very small cone now, that would still create more of a storm surge issue and a little bit more wind and rain for the coast as well. So we don't have all the answers, but we can tell you at this point, I still think storm surge is the big problem that we're going to have in the Tampa Bay area. Yes, we are going to get tropical storm force winds tonight. Some of those gusts may get 50, 60 miles per hour along the coast, a little bit higher if the storm moves a little bit closer. But in general, our winds will be gusting 50 to 60 overnight, but it's also going to be a south wind. And you're going to start to push water back up into Tampa Bay. Meanwhile, it's going to be raining, and that rain is going to try to drain out, and therein lies our flooding problem. And if we have any flooding, it's going to be overnight and through at least the morning hours tomorrow, okay? I know, not a great time, so I'm telling you, you got stuff to do. Get it done during the daylight hours today. You're going to be fine. Once the sun goes down, conditions will then quickly begin to deteriorate. 4 to 7 foot storm surge for the Tampa Bay area, 6 to 9 feet for Hernando and Pasco County, and then 8 to 12 feet. A potentially significant problem from, say, Chassahowitzka up through Crystal River, Yankeetown, all these areas in Levy County that are really low lying there too, going around to Cedar Key. That's where the worst of the storm surge is going to be. And look at our high tides. These are our high tides we're concerned about. Early tomorrow morning between 2 and 3, and then once again between 1 and 3 during the Wednesday afternoon time frame. So quick wrap up here, 4 to 7 foot storm surge in Tampa, higher amounts to the north, tropical storm force winds not till late today, and 3 to 6 inches of rain with some isolated tornadoes.
Okay, Dave, thank you. Okay, so we're not out of the woods by any means, as you just heard, but the Big Bend and our northern counties could get the worst of this storm.
And Fox 13's Mariah Harrison is live for us in Hernando County with more on how people are preparing there.
Mandatory evacuations are now in effect in Hernando County for zones A, B, and C. We'll get another update from county officials this morning right around 10 o'clock. But the storm surge is really the main concern here in Hernando County. The latest projections put that surge between 6 to 9 feet, and that's nothing to take lightly. Here in Hernando, those areas of concern are west of US 19. The evacuation zones for Hernando County, they're west of US 19. They also hug right along US 19 and extend out to the west. So in theory, safety officials hope that everyone is able to batten down the hatches, use their time yesterday to secure any loose items, board up their windows so they can focus on getting themselves and all vehicles to a safe place to the east throughout the day before the weather starts to make its way toward the coast. Sandbag locations here in Hernando County were very busy on Monday.
Oh, yeah, it's been fantastic. We've knocked down, that pile's been knocked down once already. This one over here has been knocked down once. I just refilled this one. I think I personally filled about 250 myself so far. It's been a busy morning. Everyone's working together, helping fill, helping load. we're really concerned about the storm surge, so that's why we're out here.
We've been with the luck with Ian, and of course it took the turn to the right, but if it hadn't come straight up, I think we still would have been okay with the tides. This one's way too high. It's scary.
Now, according to the county website, the sandbag locations at Linda Peterson Park, Anderson Snow Park, and Ridge Manor Community Center, those will stay open, quote, until weather deteriorates, but that could change with the mandatory evacuations now in place. They've been in place since about 7 o'clock this morning. Again, we will start seeing a briefing, hopefully from county officials right around 10 o'clock this morning, but they say residents should not wait that long to start getting their plan together to get to a safer place toward the east. Reporting in Hernando Beach, Mariah Harrison, Fox 13 News.
9:35, and Tampa International Airport has already closed because of Adalia.
And St. Pete Clearwater will shut down this afternoon at 3. Airport managers say safety is their top priority, and they're working hard to secure anything that could be blown around during high winds. All of the jet bridges, which are those walkways that go from the gate to the plane, they're going to be chained down. All commercial aircraft will be moved. The biggest concern at TPA right now is the storm surge. Southern part of the facility is right next to the bay, so flooding is a high concern. Airport managers say closing the airport is their last resort. No one wants to be stuck or delayed. Officials will be reassessing things after the storm passes and make any necessary repairs. Right now, they're hoping to reopen TPA early Thursday morning.
Pinellas Suncoast Transit Authority will suspend its transit services today at 5 p.m., so make certain you plan ahead if you need to use them. They say it could happen earlier if the hurricane's force winds are sustained at 40 miles per hour. All routes will be fare-free up until then to help with the evacuations. In Hillsborough County, fares will also be free all day today to help people evacuate, also reducing frequency on most of the routes, and these schedules can also change depending on the weather.
And sandbags are now available through most local counties and cities. For a full list of locations and hours, go to our website, fox13news.com. You can also find your nearest shelter there.
Well, still ahead, waiting, worrying, wondering. It's part of the hurricane season.
And the Crisis Center has some advice for coping with all of this. It's coming up right after the break. Stay with us.
You're in a hockey-related rock band, is that correct?
Not just hockey-related, hockey themed.
All right. Yeah. Well, titles like what?
The Referee's Daughter. You want to hear it?
Yeah, sure. Can you give us?
She's the referee's daughter, and I oughta. Yeah, I oughta. She skates on holy water like an otter, and I oughta.
Oh,
thank you.
Get him an album.
You can see why that rocketed to #1 pretty quickly. Yeah.
Hey, it's Dr. Mike. Listen, new guidelines advise that everyone with average risk of colon cancer get a screening at age 45. Now, a lot of people are nervous about this kind of thing, but it saves lives. Make sure that you get that test at age 45 or earlier if you have some high risks. I'm Dr. Mike Sirigliano with the Fox Medical Team.
Hey, I'm Heather Sullivan. I've got a tip to help you cut down that credit card interest. Use your reward points to reduce your balance. 23% of reward card holders haven't redeemed their rewards in the past year. Some of those cards also offer discounts on items that you already buy. I'm Heather Sullivan, and that's some Sullivan Smart Sense.
Your loved one has passed, so who does their debt pass to? As a general rule, the estate is responsible, meaning if you stand to inherit money, the estate must first pay off all debts. Secured debt that can't be paid off, like a mortgage or a car note, can be subject to repossession. Medical debt won't be passed to your kids, but may become the responsibility of your spouse. Federal student loans, on the other hand, will most likely be forgiven if a family member applies on behalf of the deceased. I'm Steve Noviello. That's my 2 cents. Spend it wisely.
You're watching Good Day Tampa Bay.
Welcome back. We know stress levels are high as Hurricane Adalia makes its way towards Tampa Bay. And there's a lot of planning and worrying that comes with making certain your family's prepared for a storm.
Walter's here now after speaking to a mental health expert this morning. Clara Reynolds, a good friend of ours. You've got some tips for when it comes to managing all this anxiety. I think we're all feeling it.
Yeah, well, certainly are. Laura Russell, good morning to you. The memories of past storms, the waiting, the worrying, the not knowing, all of it, it makes this time before and during the storm especially hard for some folks. Now, we talked to the crisis center of Tampa Bay earlier this morning. Clara Reynolds joined us in the 5 o'clock hour. They tell us that they're already seeing an uptick in calls, especially from Charlotte County. Remember, Hurricane Ian turned and hit parts of Charlotte last year. So a lot of us are wondering what's going to happen this year. Is Adalia going to wobble and do the same thing? We just don't know, right? Here's some advice to managing some of the stress.
Make sure that you're looking at local news, not the National Weather Service. Stay local.
Yeah.
Put yourself on a little bit of a media diet, too. Go, look at the 11 and the 5 o'clock updates. If it's causing you more agitation than it is education, it's probably time to back away. Make sure you've got a plan for you and your family, and check in on those neighbors. Oftentimes, that's going to make you feel better if you're helping somebody else. And then, please, take some time for yourself. Find something that you enjoy. That silly movie that you haven't maybe watched in 4 years. Pull it out. Get ready. Make sure everything's charged so that you can watch that silly movie when things start to really get rough.
So, silly movie, guys. What are we watching? Spaceballs, Blazing Saddles? What? What are we going to... Double feature.
Young Frankenstein.
Young Frankenstein. Okay, we'll watch all three. Clara also says, when you're talking to your kids, it's best to dispel any mess and just be honest. Reinforce and reassure them that you're going to do everything possible to keep them safe, get the house ready, and then you're all going to get through it together. Finally, remember, if you need extra support during this time, you can call the Crisis Center anytime. 211 is the number you need, Russell.
Okay. Thank you.
You bet.
All right, let's get over to Dave Osterberg right now to see where we are right now with Adalia.
Yeah, overall, the storm has done exactly what it was supposed to do. And then you kind of look as this, and I'm going to get to this in just a second. I'm updating a quick map while I'm talking to you here. The storm itself became a hurricane earlier this morning, and that was right at about 5 o'clock or so. It was really kind of right on target, but then it became a little bit stronger for, say, the 8 o'clock advisory, where you got the winds now up to 80 miles per hour. It's moving into an area very favorable for strengthening. It's expected to become a major hurricane. Nothing that is happening so far this morning is deviating from that, okay? Of course, it's always your biggest fear. You wake up and something has dramatically changed, and right now, no. But again, we don't breathe a sigh of relief until we can get this storm past and out. It's got a lot to do, and it's really going to start that intensification process, I think, over the next several hours. And notice how all the convection, all that, the orange and the red, it's really mostly on the eastern side of this storm. So even if this storm passes us, 60 to 100 miles to the west, which is supposed to do, we're going to get a lot of weather being on the eastern side, and that water is all going to be funneled up right through the eastern Gulf of Mexico, and every little inlet, estuary, Tampa Bay, everything, the water's just going to be poured in. Now, in of itself, that's tough, but now you've got all the rain, which is going to come down. And by the way, look at the way the rain is paralleling the coast so far this morning. Wow. So far it's getting real close, but it's not here yet. So we still have a few more hours as the storm lifts north. So will some of these stronger rain bands, and embedded within these, you could be getting a tornado, having some of those tropical storm force wind gusts. So again, we're just waiting now. We get all the forecasts out. We get everything. We're just waiting for this storm to pass closest to us sometime late tonight, early tomorrow morning. Presently about 251 miles southwest of Pinellas County. We've got the eye on the radar. The eye has cleared out in the past hour. Perhaps another sign that it's continuing to strengthen as it's moving through the eastern Gulf. The forecast path is not going to change as well. And even though it may jog 30 miles either side, okay, the overall path still going to bring this right into the northeastern Gulf. It's going to go into the Big Bend area. Now, let's say for the sake of argument, it takes the right side of the cone. Easily could do that. Well, the impacts would be felt here, obviously, a lot more. than they would if it took the western side of the cone. So there's still a couple of questions we can't answer, but we can tell you that we pretty much are concerned about the storm surge. And that is the biggest problem with that wall of water pushing its way through the eastern Gulf of Mexico. And the stronger this system gets and the faster it starts to move, it's going to generate more water, and it's all going to be funneled up into the northeastern Gulf. But remember, rain is also going to come down, and that water's not going to be draining out. So you've got rain, and then you've got the salt water coming in, and that's what's going to create a problem along the coast, which, again, nothing during the daylight hours should be a major issue today. After the sun goes down tonight and then overnight is when the strongest weather moves in and then quickly moves out. By tomorrow afternoon, tomorrow evening, this storm is up into the Carolinas, so the forward movement should pick up. Main issue, again, storm surge 4 to 7 feet into Tampa Bay, 8 to 12 feet, though, once you get up to Chassahowitzka over towards Cedar Key. That's a big problem. Imagine that. Imagine a 10-foot wall of water coming in towards Cedar Key. That is a possibility. This is why all those evacuation zone A's, we want you out, because you start to roll in a 4 to 7 foot storm surge into Tampa Bay on top of the fact that it's going to rain and that water can't drain out and that water can't go anywhere for a while. So that's, again, the big concern. Tropical storm force winds, sure, absolutely. Hurricane force winds may stay offshore, depending on the track, but it's going to be the wall of water. And these high tides are huge, and they're very pertinent as well, because these are our full moon tides. These are some of the largest tides we have of the year, and they happen to be tomorrow morning and tomorrow afternoon. So that's why we need you to pay, especially along the coast, real close attention to those high tides. Flood watch is out. Makes sense. You've got a hurricane warning out. You're going to have a flood watch. And although we don't have a tornado watch yet, don't be surprised if one's not issued later, especially in this area shaded in yellow. Some of those feeder bands, south and east, eastern side of the storm, you'll typically get a few spin-up tornadoes as well. It's a lot of weather to get through. It's all going to be compacted into about 12 to 18 hours, and it probably won't start till this evening, okay? So you still have a few hours to get things done this morning. So don't panic and don't rush. You got some time. Again, by the evening hours, though, you really want to be where you want to be, or you're going to be. 92 degrees overall today. Yeah, that's the problem. We're getting ready for a storm. It's just hot and steamy outside. Watch as the rain starts to move in with the wind later tonight. Worst of the weather in the Tampa Bay area will likely be, let's say, from midnight through about 8 a.m. I know, terrible timing, but then it starts to get better. Holiday weekend coming up, and we'll be back to normal by that point.
Okay. All right, Dave, thank you. Dave's a little busy right now, so I get the privilege of doing first birthdays this morning. First up, we have Callie. She loves going to the beach, hanging out with her parents, and eating seafood. Good for her. Happy birthday. William, happy birthday. He loves playing with his big brother, watching race cars with his dad, as well as Miss Rachel. Happy birthday. We have a shout out to Robert this morning. He just started walking. His favorite person is his big brother, and he loves the Georgia Bulldogs. Go Dogs. Happy birthday. Maddie is celebrating one today. She loves playing with her cousin, watching the Minions movie, and is always smiling, unless she's hungry. Happy birthday, Maddie. And last but not least, a belated shout out to Mazaya. She loves grooving to music, eating, and laughing with his big brother. Happy birthday. If you want to see your little one on TV, send us a picture along with their name, the date of their first birthday, and a little bit about them. Email it to WTVT First Birthdays at fox.com. Coming up next, we've got a little break from storm coverage. We're going to talk about sleep. We're going to need it tonight, not that we'll get much. And Gen Z's got a few tips for us, interestingly enough. That's coming up after the break.
I'm Allie Corey. I grew up in Palm Harbor, and the Bay Area is the perfect place to raise my family.
I know firsthand how important local news is to you.
So count on us to keep you informed about everything that's happening in Fox 13 country.
If you are relying on Amazon reviews to help you decide on a purchase, heads up. According to FakeSpot, the following categories are the most likely to have bogus or biased feedback: watches, Christmas decor, watch bands, sweaters, and pullovers. But the top spot for fake reviews? Slippers. FakeSpot says 71% on Amazon have fake reviews, with thousands of products and barely any name brands. I'm Steve Noviello. That's my 2 cents. Spend it wisely.
This was my Little League right here. So many friendships made and memories made on these very fields. And that's my high school right there. That's where I fell in love with journalism, writing for the student paper. Grew up out here on these very waters, boating, fishing. This right here is where I really came to appreciate our outdoors. And this is my church. served on the altar, sang in the choir here, and got married more than 20 years ago. This isn't just my home. This is my hometown.
Judge Judy's been called a lot of things.
That's outrageous.
Tough.
It's going to be ugly and unpleasant.
Demanding.
Pay attention, who's ever listening.
Wise.
Stupid isn't written over here.
Thoughtful.
Don't buy it.
Unpredictable.
You never know what I'm going to do.
Calculating.
I'm 10 steps ahead of you.
Humble.
There's only one star here. That's me. I have the job.
However you describe her.
Let's be careful.
You've gotta love her.
Are you nuts?
Judge Judy.
You better tell me the truth.
Weekdays at 3 on Fox 13.
Next.
When you see the flash of lightning and hear the boom of thunder, that means one thing. It's Sky Tower season.
Track storms using Fox 13's free Sky Tower radar app. Download it now. You're watching Good Day Tampa Bay.
Welcome back. It's 9:51 now, and as we've mentioned, waiting for this storm to arrive is stressful.
And that's on top of all the other daily annoyances that we have to deal with. For example, getting stuck in traffic. According to a Cadbury survey, that's the top daily stressor. Surprisingly, the second most popular answer was from people who line dry their clothes only for it to rain on them. Does anybody still line dry their clothes? Appliances or the car breaking down, and walking behind a person dawdling also ruffles one's feathers, as well as tidying the house only for kids and family members to mess it up, and stubbing a toe. By the way, Tuesday tops the poll as the toughest day of the week.
Here we are. Here we are.
And 61% of people said they wish they could take more time out. If they had the chance, they'd go for a walk, sit down for a sweet snack, enjoy a cup of tea, or listen to their favorite music. Okay, so first on the list is take a time out. Next is get a good night's sleep.
Now, we're going to need it. And when it comes to the shut-eye department, we all need to take a page out of the Gen Z book. Out of all the generations, they prioritize sleep the most. That's according to a poll from Sir Simmons Betting. Their nighttime routine predominantly consists of turning on a fan, putting on a sleep mask, writing in a journal, reading, listening to music, and creating a to-do list for the next day, surprisingly, and they're not budging on it. Most Gen Zers would rather shorten their morning routine than condense their bedtime ritual. The average person spends 162 hours a year on their nighttime routine.
Get some sleep. It's going to be a long night. We'll be right back.
Hey, I'm Heather Sullivan with Sullivan Smart Sense. Okay, we all know you can save money at the grocery store buying generic or store brands. But did you know you could save an average of 40%? CNET compared prices on 20 items and cut the bill from $125 to $75 And that's savings that can add up.
Is smoking weed against the law? Although half the states in the country have legalized lighting up in some way, it is still against federal law. Katie Barlow here. Marijuana is classified as a Schedule I drug under federal law. That's the same as heroin and LSD, and even higher than fentanyl and meth. President Biden says he's looking into it, but you can still face federal charges. So be careful where you light up, and remember, crossing state lines with weed is a no-no.
To get the most out of your cell phone battery, consider shallow charging. Instead of draining your battery to zero, recharge it 50%. When you charge it up, stop at about 90%. Once a month, you should run it down to 5% and recharge so it can recalibrate its self-assessment. When charging is done, remove your phone from the charger. Electronics will age faster if they're left plugged in when fully charged. I'm Steve Noviello. That's my 2 cents. Spend it wisely.
Hey, it's Dr. Mike. A new study found that hangovers will really get you in your mid-30s. Now, I don't like to see anyone at any age drink too much, but the older you get, the more likely you're going to suffer after drinking too much. Take plenty of fluids, stay off the highways. I'm Dr. Mike Sirigliano with the Fox Medical Team.
You're watching Good Day Tampa Bay.
All right, we're about to wrap it up. But first, keep an eye out for the unofficial metric of how severe a storm is. It's called the Waffle House Index. The restaurants are notorious for staying open during bad storms. So if they're closed, you know it's serious. No signs of any locations closing just yet. But it is worth noting that all of the Waffle Houses up in Big Bend run along I-75 and I-10, about an hour inland. FEMA has been using the Waffle House Index since 2004 after Hurricane Charlie. It's a thing.
It is a thing, and it works. They've got a great supply chain.
Well, and honestly, now I want some cheesy eggs.
Exactly, me too, and hash browns.
You're welcome for that.
Okay, let's get into it. Okay, so everything again is done it's been doing exactly what it's supposed to do. It's a strengthening hurricane, Adalia, with winds of about 80 miles per hour. Again, there'll be another update from the Hurricane Center in terms of track and wind speed, forward movement. I don't expect the track to change very much at all. It's kind of locked in on the Big Bend. Whether it takes the eastern side of the cone or the western side of the cone, that would make a difference, obviously, for us in how it all plays out. But I still think overall that storm surge is going to be our largest problem late tonight, excuse me, and going into tomorrow morning. Look at the feeder bands, some of those rain bands. They're not on shore yet, but as the storm lifts north, you can see how those will be lifted north as well. So you still have a few more hours, I believe, to get your stuff completed, get to where you want to be, and then just sit back and relax, and we'll take it over from there. We've got, of course, the eye of Adalia right there on radar. It can't escape us, and if it was to deviate from that path, whether it be left or right, we would know immediately just by keeping an eye on that. About 251 miles away. Projected to be a Category 3 storm just to the west of us in the middle of the night, and then once it moves past us, all of a sudden you're going to get, you're going to have a huge storm surge coming into Tampa Bay to the tune of maybe 4 to 7 feet, which is something we haven't seen around here in really a very, very, very long time, probably long time. Most of us have probably never seen that, but the problem with that is water is not going to be able to come out into the bay. All that rain that's going to be falling, where's it going to go? It can't drain out because the water is going to be pushing it back in, and that's going to put us in a very a stalemate, probably for about 10 to 12 hours.
Question?
Sure.
The storm surge will happen after the hurricane passes us?
I think there's going to be two storms here. And I think the first one's going to be as it's passing us, because the high tide is going to be around 2 or 3 o'clock in the morning, depending on where you are. And then the tide will try to go out, but it won't be able to because of the water, and the wind will still be pushing it in. And then there'll be a second surge in the afternoon on Wednesday, probably when the sun is coming out. It'll be like a secondary surge coming in. So there's 2 high tides, both of those for tomorrow. Bottom line is this: you got plenty of time this morning to get done what you got to get done. As the sun is going down, just be where you're going to be. Okay? And just ride it out with us.
Thank you, Dane, as always. All right, we're going to continue to monitor Adalia throughout the day.
And expecting a news conference from Hillsborough County Emergency Management. Stick with us for that. We'll take it live as it happens.